From a blind date came a sister who is a CEO. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 651. I'm the master of the ZHU family. You are really brave. Feng Xiao suddenly laughed, and laughed very loudly. This laughter made the ZHU family frown. This guy couldn't be surnamed Feng. Was he really crazy? At this time, he could still laugh so ostentatiously. Do you think that our Feng family can't do anything to you? Then you don't pay attention to the situation of the families in Beijing. Our Feng family has formed an alliance with the Chu family and the Wei family, forming a large family system of 3 alliances, which is not inferior to the largest family in Beijing. For the other members of the ZHU family, Feng Xiao may not have any idea of what he said, but the old man changed immediately. The Feng family is indeed more powerful than them, but the current size of the ZHU family, not to mention challenging the other party, but at least it can protect itself. But if the Feng family really formed such an alliance with the other 2 families, then if they wanted to take action against the ZHU family, the ZHU family would be completely unable to compete. At this time, ZHU's Arxuan stood out from the crowd and said in a cold voice, "No matter how powerful you are, you cannot humiliate our ZHU family." Feng Xiao looked at ZHU's Arxuan, and his eyes lit up, and said, "This is Miss ZHU's Arxuan of your ZHU family, right?" ZHU's Arxuan said neither humbly nor arrogantly, "Yes, I didn't expect Feng Xiao to know me." Feng Xiao laughed and said, "Of course I know you. You are my target this time. From now on, you are mine." ZHU's Arxuan's face was covered with frost, and she said, "Don't talk nonsense here. I, Feng Xiao, have taken a fancy to a woman. Who can refuse him?" Then he looked at the old man and said arrogantly, "I'll give you a chance now. Hand over half of the profits this time. In addition, there is this ZHU's Arxuan. It would be good to be a little girl, to warm my bed in the future." Bold. Looking for death. The ZHU family members roared at this time. But Feng Xiao ignored them, and just looked at the old man. The more important the family was, the more he understood the weight of what he said. He didn't believe that the old man of the ZHU family dared not to make a mistake. The old man of the ZHU family was in a very difficult situation at this time. It was not a big deal to make concessions, but it would lose the face of the ZHU family and the unity of the ZHU family would be lost. However, the opponent's strength was too strong, and they, the ZHU family, could not compete. If he refused, it would push the ZHU family into the abyss. As a family head, he could not let his descendants fall. At this time, Su Weifeng supported the old man, smiled slightly, and said, "I will handle this matter." The old man twitched his mouth and said, The other party is very powerful." "It is definitely not." Su Weifeng smiled faintly and said, "So what?" Then he walked out directly. The old man hurriedly whispered to ZHU's Arxuan, "Remind them to try to ease the situation. Their power is no longer something we can contend with." ZHU's Arxuan said confidently at this time, "Grandpa, don't worry. We still have the Meng family." The old man was stunned for a moment, and then he was ecstatic. How could he forget the Meng family? The last bet was supported by the Meng family. The ZHU family obviously did not have such a strong force to invite the Meng family. It was obviously Su Weifeng. And Su Weifeng could mobilize such a large resource of the Meng family, so he must have a very close relationship with the Meng family. The Meng family is one of the largest families in Beijing. Even if the Feng family and the other 2 families form an alliance and seem powerful, they cannot support the strength of the Meng family. With the support of the Meng family, what is there for the ZHU family to fear? Thinking of this, the old man of the ZHU family straightened his back. Su Weifeng came to Feng Xiao. The injured expert jumped on one foot and stood in front of Feng Xiao. Although his calf was broken, his face was pale and his forehead was covered with sweat, but he still kept silent and dutifully protected Feng Xiao. The other person was also on full alert, ready to attack Su Weifeng at any time. This made Su Weifeng secretly praise him in his heart. The quality of the family generals raised by the Beijing family is indeed much better than that of the local ones. Not only is it strong, but also has the determination to remain calm in the face of danger. Feng Xiaoyu knew that Su Weifeng's fighting ability was amazing, and these two family generals might not be able to protect his safety, but he was still not afraid. He sneered and said, "Boy, do you think you are qualified to talk to me because you are good at fighting and can injure my family generals? I tell you, who are you? You are not worthy, get out of here." Su Weifeng said calmly, "I will make the decision on the ZHU family's affairs today." Feng Xiaoyu immediately said disdainfully, "You make the decision? PFFT, just you?" The old man of the ZHU family immediately said in a loud voice, "Yes, from today on, our ZHU family will be made by Su Weifeng. Does the ZHU family have any objection?" The old man's words made the ZHU family stunned for a moment. What was going on? This was simply abdication, and the power of the ZHU family was handed over to an outsider like Su Weifeng. "Does the ZHU family have any objection?" The old man shouted. No objection. Although there were still some doubts in their hearts, no one in the ZHU family hesitated at this time and shouted in unison. Su Weifeng then said slowly, "Am I qualified now?" Feng Xiaoyu was stunned for a moment, then laughed and said, "It's so funny, your ZHU family actually changed your surname?" Su Weifeng said lightly, "What's the important thing about the surname? The most important thing is that I can lead the ZHU family to glory and make it impossible for you villains to take advantage of our ZHU family again." "Just you?" Feng Xiaoyu looked Su Weifeng up and down, snorted, and said, "Originally, I was thinking about which family you are from in Beijing, but there is no family with the surname Su in Beijing. What strength do you have to protect the ZHU family? Just relying on your kung fu? How funny." Su Weifeng said lightly, "My kung fu is just better than your family generals. At least what can you do to me?" Feng Xiaoyu was speechless for a moment, and shouted angrily, "Very good, I won't waste time with you. Since you represent the ZHU family, then answer me, do you agree to my request? What do you think?" Su Weifeng asked back lightly. Feng Xiaoyu felt a sudden blockage in his chest. The family generals he relied on and the combined power advantage could not scare Su Weifeng at this time, which made him feel helpless. "Very good, kid. You want to take the blame for the ZHU family, then we will see. Not only will the ZHU family lose the benefits they have gained, but the ZHU family will disappear from the city from now on. If you have such ability, then I have no objection." Feng Xiaoyu gritted his teeth and said, "Very good, your ZHU family has found a fool, and it will definitely be ruined in his hands. Let's go." The ZHU family members immediately breathed a sigh of relief. This crazy young master was finally leaving. But Su Weifeng's face turned cold at this time, and he suddenly shouted loudly, "Did I let you go?" Chapter 652, Escape. Feng Xiaoyu immediately said angrily, "What do you want?" Su Weifeng puffed out his chest and said proudly, "Today you came to my ZHU family to show off your power, bullied my ZHU family, and left without any explanation. How can our ZHU family survive here in the future? You still want me to explain to you? Haha. Are you crazy?" Feng Xiaoyu was actually amused at this time. The ZHU family also looked at each other at this time. It was good enough that the eldest son of the Feng family was sent away without any trouble. Why did Su Weifeng create more trouble? But the old man had just said that the ZHU family had Su Weifeng in charge. Although the ZHU family had doubts in their hearts at this time, no one questioned it. Su Weifeng took a step forward, and his momentum surged, and he immediately swept towards Feng Xiaoyu and the other two, and his tongue exploded like thunder. "Kneel down." The two masters quickly resisted, but they felt like a small boat in the ocean, as if they could be swallowed by this momentum at any time, and they couldn't stop it at all. They had already had a high opinion of Su Weifeng in their hearts, but at this moment, they were shocked to find that their judgment was still wrong. The opponent's strength had completely exceeded their imagination. Feng Xiaoyu was not a master. Su Weifeng's imposing pressure made him feel like he was falling into an ice cellar. His legs softened, and he knelt on the ground. The ZHU family did not experience it personally. They just saw Su Weifeng asking Feng Xiaoyu to kneel down, And then Feng Xiaoyu actually knelt down. Feng Xiaoyu certainly did not want to kneel. For a moment, he was so ashamed and angry that he wanted to kill someone. But when he wanted to get up, he couldn't stand up no matter what. Instead, his body was bent more and more, and even his head was about to hit the ground. Zhu Xiaoxuan is my wife. How dare you touch my woman's ideas and speak disrespectfully to my wife. As Zhu Xiaoxuan's husband, I, Su Weifeng, will not forgive you today. Zhu Xiaoxuan only felt a bang in his head and was instantly filled with Su Weifeng's words and could no longer hear any other voice. A strong sense of happiness instantly enveloped the whole body. It turned out that this was the feeling of being protected by a beloved man. It was so happy. Mr. Su, please show mercy. The uninjured family general lowered his posture and begged for mercy. Su Weifeng snorted, then he put away his momentum. Looking at Feng Xiaoyu who was struggling to get up, he snorted coldly and said, from now on, the Zhu family and the Feng family will have no relationship. If the Feng family dares to trouble the Zhu family again, we will return it tenfold or 100-fold. Get out. Feng Xiaoyu was furious at this time and wanted to speak, but the two family generals hurriedly carried him out in a panic. It was too dangerous here. If the other party really attacked Feng Xiaoyu, they would not be able to protect Feng Xiaoyu at all. Seeing the Maybach fleeing like lightning, the Zhu family burst into cheers. Then they all rushed up and surrounded Su Weifeng in the middle. These people were not only the young people of the third generation of the Zhu family, but also the uncles and uncles of the second generation, who were equally excited. Su Weifeng came to the old man and said, Grandpa, are you satisfied with my handling of the matter? Haha. The old man laughed, patted Su Weifeng on the shoulder, and said, satisfied, extremely satisfied. With you leading the Zhu family in the future, it will really soar to the sky. Su Weifeng hurriedly said, it was the situation that forced me to take the lead just now. The old man's smile faded, and he said solemnly, I have already announced this matter, you have agreed, and all of us in the Zhu family have approved it. How can you not recognize it? Really? Grandpa? Su Weifeng's eyes widened. The old man nodded vigorously and said, ask any member of the Zhu family here, have they now regarded you as the head of the family? We regard Su Weifeng as the head of the Zhu family. The Zhu family shouted in unison. Su Weifeng's face darkened, and he looked around. Then he said seriously, thank you for your kindness, but I absolutely cannot agree to this matter. Don't get excited. I'm now the son-in-law of the Zhu family, which means I'm equivalent to a member of the Zhu family. No matter when, as long as the Zhu family has something to do, I, Su Weifeng, will definitely do my best to help, but as the head of the Zhu family, I still have some unspeakable secrets, which are really difficult to do. Zhu Xiaoxuan also hurriedly said at this time, Grandpa, Weifeng is right, he has more important things to do, so he can't be our head of the family. The old man hesitated for a moment, then laughed and said, in this case, then I will no longer force you, but I have already said that I will retire and will no longer be the head of the family. Now the third son will be the head of the family. Do you have any objections? No. Everyone agreed in unison. The third son of the Zhu family, that is Zhu Xiaoxuan's father, was originally an outstanding figure among the second generation of the Zhu family. Now there is a powerful son-in-law like Su Weifeng, and it is natural for him to be the head of the family. After the matter was settled, the young man wanted to invite Su Weifeng to drink, but the old man still took several important people in the family, plus Su Weifeng and Zhu Xiaoxuan into a room. Qiao Yushan was also invited, but she refused. She was not familiar with this kind of thing. It would be useless to go, and it would be shown that she didn't know what was good for her. Weifeng, this time we have completely broken up with the Feng family, and Feng Xiaoyu has lost face. This matter will definitely not be let go. The Feng family will definitely take action against our Zhu family. Do you have any way to deal with it? The old man didn't beat around the bush and got straight to the point. Su Weifeng said, actually, I'm not familiar with this kind of struggle between families, but I feel that it's not appropriate to fight with them now. Just warn them first, that's all. Warn? The old man narrowed his eyes. The corners of the other ZHU family members' mouths twitched. That was the Feng family. Su Weifeng actually said to warn them. This tone was a bit too big. Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, to be honest, I have a very close relationship with the Meng family. Even my wife's company is owned by the Meng family. Everyone was very surprised. They didn't expect that the Meng family had already intervened in the provincial capital. Su Weifeng said again, I have become the son-in-law of the ZHU family, so the Meng family will naturally support the ZHU family. Of course, this also depends on the ZHU family's willingness to become a close partner with the Meng family. Yes, of course. This time, even the old man became anxious, and then he said without feeling embarrassed, I dream of becoming a partner with the Meng family. The Meng family is not only powerful, but most importantly, the Meng family never betrays their teammates. Su Weifeng laughed and said, if that's the case, then this matter is settled. Chapter 653 New Backer. For the ZHU family, it was a relief at the time, but they were definitely worried about how to end it afterwards. The struggle between families is not a simple fight at all. It involves many aspects of the problem. They really don't have the strength to fight with the families in Beijing. But Su Weifeng suddenly wanted to pull the Meng family in. This not only solved all the current problems, but also gave them a bigger backer. The ZHU family will be more confident in the future development in the provincial capital, and no one can shake their position in the provincial capital. Su Weifeng looked at everyone's expectant eyes, took out his mobile phone, and called Meng Keqing. Meng Keqing answered the phone immediately and said anxiously, what's wrong? What happened? Normally, when Su Weifeng communicated with Meng Keqing, they basically used WeChat. After all, Meng Keqing was so busy that she could only reply in her spare time. So this direct call made Meng Keqing a little anxious. I'm fine. Su Weifeng felt warm in his heart and said softly, there was a conflict between the ZHU family and the Feng family. I drove the Feng family away. Now I need you to stand up for the ZHU family. Meng Keqing breathed a sigh of relief and said, okay, this is a win-win situation for both of us. I also know Xiaoxun. I will issue a notice later saying that the Meng family and the ZHU family are allies. However, I'm a little busy these days. I'll ask other people from the Meng family to go over and discuss the specific cooperation with the ZHU family. I'll go over after I'm done. Okay, take care of yourself and don't work so hard. Yes, I'm so tired. Next time you go, you have to give me a good massage. No problem. After hanging up the phone, Su Weifeng saw that everyone's eyes were filled with a different meaning. Su Weifeng sweated secretly. When he talked to Meng Keqing, he couldn't help but use that gentle tone, which made people hear at once that the relationship between the two was not simple. The old man smiled and said, Xiao Su, the one who called you is. Su Weifeng smiled awkwardly and said, Meng Keqing. Meng Keqing. The old man's mouth twitched. Meng Keqing, that is the most famous woman in the whole of China. In fact, not many people know about her fame, which is completely incomparable to those big stars. But people from big families like the old man and his family, how could they not know how noble Meng Keqing's status is? Even if all the stars in China are added together, they can't compare to Meng Keqing alone. My god, you are so amazing. You actually made Meng Keqing. The old man couldn't help but coughed lightly when he said this. He felt that saying the following words would be a blasphemy to Meng Keqing. The look in his eyes when he looked at Su Weifeng was full of strong admiration. The old man was like this, and the others were even more shocked. Everyone felt more or less aggrieved for ZHU Xiaoxun, but Meng Keqing was like this. What else did ZHU Xiaoxun have to feel wronged? This is clearly marrying into a wealthy family. Finally, with the farewell of all the ZHU family members, ZHU Xiaoxun and the other two finally got in the car and left the ZHU family compound. ZHU Xiaoxun was driving the car, and his face was also very red. Qiao Yushan sat in the co-pilot seat and said with a smile, Xiaoxun, your man has won you enough face today. ZHU Xiaoxun had nothing to be embarrassed about and nodded and said, yes, I'm really happy today. This feeling of being protected by a man and having a man backing me up is really indescribably good. Qiao Yushan said with a little resentment, I envy you. Zhu Xiaoxuan turned his head and glanced at Qiao Yushan, then chuckled and said, Yushan, what you said makes me feel guilty, but no matter what, no one can shake your position as the queen. Qiao Yushan was of course not really resentful, she was just joking, and chuckled at this time, saying, what queen? It sounds like there are 3 palaces and 6 courtyards. Zhu Xiaoxuan smiled and said, isn't it? Someone is opening a harem now. Su Weifeng coughed awkwardly. There was really no way to refute this. Arrived outside Qiao Yushan's residential area. Seeing that Zhu Xiaoxuan didn't get out of the car, Qiao Yushan immediately said, are you going back? Zhu Xiaoxuan said a little embarrassedly, moving in now, I think it's a little early. He doesn't come here often. When he comes, you don't come to live here, so how can you have time to get along with him? Besides, I have something to discuss with you. Zhu Xiaoxuan was just a little embarrassed to let go of his face. Qiao Yushan's words immediately gave him a way out, so he said, okay. The 3 of them arrived at home. Qiao Yushan and Zhu Xiaoxuan changed into pajamas and sat on the sofa. Qiao Yushan really had something to say to Zhu Xiaoxuan. At this time, she said quite seriously, did Weifeng tell you about the current situation at home? Zhu Xiaoxuan glanced at Su Weifeng and said, no. If Su Weifeng had already told her these things, wouldn't it mean that Su Weifeng, had already promised to be together? Then what happened last night was just a show, which was really a bit embarrassing. Qiao Yushan told Zhu Xiaoxuan the current situation at home again. Zhu Xiaoxuan smiled and said, I can roughly see these things. Qiao Yushan nodded and said a little embarrassedly, these are not important. The most important thing is that I have been pretending to be confused. Zhu Xiaoxuan smiled and said, things are just confusing, otherwise it would be embarrassing. Qiao Yushan said a little embarrassedly, yes, so I just pretended not to see it. You are the first person who knows what I think. You have to stand on the same front with me. Zhu Xiaoxuan immediately said seriously, Yushan, to be honest, I'm also worried that this way of getting along is difficult. In this way, with only you, I don't have such a heavy burden in my heart. Qiao Yushan clapped her hands and said, then it's settled. We won't get involved in our affairs with them. Let's live our own lives. Zhu Xiaoxuan nodded repeatedly and seemed much more relaxed. He said, this is the best. When Brother Su comes here in the future, I will come to talk more. Qiao Yushan chuckled and said, he and I have been together for so long. If we don't develop further, it won't be of much help to him. You still have to do more. Zhu Xiaoxuan glanced at Su Weifeng and blushed. Su Weifeng listened to the 2 of them talking here and basically had no way to interrupt. Looking at them and listening to what they said, he felt indescribably happy. By the way, Zhu Xiaoxuan hesitated for a moment and said, where is Menkeking? Between her and Brother Su. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 654 Find Another Gun. Qiao Yushan turned to look at Su Weifeng and said, someone in our family has to explain this to us. Su Weifeng coughed lightly and told him the story of Menkeking. Even though Zhu Xiaoxuan had been prepared, she was still dumbfounded when Su Weifeng said it himself and said, Brother Su, even Menkeking likes you so much, I don't know what to say. Qiao Yushan's mouth twitched. In the past, Lin Xuanxuan always said that Menkeking had such intentions towards Su Weifeng, but she always thought that it was impossible for a person like Menkeking to be with Su Weifeng. Especially with the current situation at home, it was even more impossible for Menkeking. Weifeng, I have thought highly of you, but I still feel that I have underestimated you. You can even get Menkeking, so is there any woman in this world that you can't get? Su Weifeng immediately said embarrassedly, wife, your words make me feel uneasy. I have never taken the initiative to provoke others. Qiao Yushan rolled her eyes at Su Weifeng and said, yes, everyone took the initiative to throw themselves into your arms. ZHU Xiaoxuan chuckled and said, it seems to be true. In the past, I have already expressed my affection for Brother Su, but Brother Su directly refused. It took a lot of effort to get to this point today. Qiao Yushan rolled her eyes and said, it seems to be true. Well, then I won't bother with you. After saying these things, Qiao Yushan said, you guys chat. I have some things to deal with quickly, and I need them at the company tomorrow. Qiao Yushan entered the study, but ZHU Xiaoxuan was a little nervous and didn't know what to do. Su Weifeng came over and sat next to ZHU Xiaoxuan naturally, saying, if you have nothing to do, help me look at the things our company has filmed. We study these things every day, but it is easy to fall into an inertial thinking, so I hope you can give some suggestions. Okay. ZHU Xiaoxuan agreed immediately. The two watched the video together, and ZHU Xiaoxuan also expressed some of his own opinions, and soon completely relaxed. The two chatted and watched the video, and there was no extra movement. This made ZHU Xiaoxuan feel quite comfortable. It was true that she liked Su Weifeng, but her view on love was completely different from Xu Lingling's. Xu Lingling established a relationship with Su Weifeng, and she was eager to do everything with Su Weifeng directly. She hoped that the two would have a common language and more things to talk about. When the feelings were deep, other physical contact would come naturally. If Su Weifeng asked to be intimate with her, she would not refuse, but she would inevitably feel a little regretful. Qiao Yushan came out more than an hour later. Seeing the two sitting there in a well-behaved manner, she couldn't help but burst out laughing and said, you two, this is too pure. ZHU Xiaoxuan had also let go at this time, chuckled, and said, I feel this is very good. Qiao Yushan smiled and said, I'm just afraid that someone is anxious. Su Weifeng laughed and said, I feel good too. You say one thing and mean another. Qiao Yushan didn't take it seriously, knowing that this situation is actually better for Su Weifeng. The better the relationship is cultivated, the better it will be for Su Weifeng's recovery. That night, Qiao Yushan and ZHU Xiaoxuan lived in the same room. Su Weifeng could hear the two chattering until very late. Qiao Yushan and ZHU Xiaoxuan should be considered the same kind of people, so they can get along better. Liu's family in the provincial capital. Feng Xiaoyu is here at this time. The old man of the Liu family and several important family members are accompanying Feng Xiaoyu at this time, and each of them has an excited look on their faces. The old man of the Liu family took a deep breath, unable to hide his excitement, and asked cautiously, Mr. Feng, is what you just said true? Feng Xiaoyu snorted and said, can I, Feng Xiaoyu, still joke with you about this? Now tell me, are you Liu family willing to obey our Feng family? The old man of the Liu family took a deep breath and said, the Feng family can give us Liu family this opportunity, so how can our Liu family not go? But, just say whatever you want to say. Feng Xiaoyu waved his hand. The old man of the Liu family considered his words, and then said, Mr. Feng, I have two conditions. If Mr. Feng can agree to them, then our Liu family will definitely follow the lead of the Feng family. Feng Xiaoyu said, you talk first. The old man of the Liu family cleared his throat and said, first, I hope the Feng family can provide us with enough help, both financially and materially. Feng Xiaoyu said without hesitation, of course there is no problem with that. With your current abilities, if you want to fight the ZHU family, your strength is definitely not enough. We will definitely bring you powerful resources, so that you can directly defeat the ZHU family. Okay. Mr. Feng is straightforward. Second, I hope that in the future, when it comes to the distribution of benefits, our Liu family can get half. After all, this requires our Liu family to fight hard, and this is gambling everything our Liu family has. Feng Xiaoyu frowned and said, this is also fine. We will support you in the future. If you get enough benefits, you can develop better here, and bring better benefits to our Feng family. Feng Xiaoyu behaved arrogantly in the ZHU family, totally disregarding the feelings of the ZHU family. He seemed to be a dandy, an impulsive and reckless guy. But in fact, he was not. How could a person who could stand alone be simple? It was just that the ZHU family had been used by the Feng family for many years, So he went into a misunderstanding and believed that the ZHU family would not refuse any request he made, so he had that kind of condescending attitude. Now he is re-establishing the object of cultivation and recruiting guns for the Feng family again, so his starting point is different, and his attitude has also changed, and he will agree to make concessions. The old man of the Liu family was overjoyed and said, then there will be no problem. We will definitely make the ZHU family a thing of the past. Feng Xiaoyu yawned and said, in this case, then this matter is settled. I'm also a little sleepy. The old man of the Liu family hurriedly took Feng Xiaoyu to the best guest room of the Liu family. I feel a little uncomfortable sleeping alone. Feng Xiaoyu said lightly. The old man of the Liu family said quickly, young Master Feng, wait a moment. After leaving the room, the old man of the Liu family ordered quickly, Xiao Liu, call your girl over. The young man of the Liu family was immediately embarrassed and said, father, she is still in college. The old man of the Liu family snorted and said, she is in college, which means she is an adult. Let her accompany young Master Feng. If young Master Feng likes her, she can enter a wealthy family in Beijing in the future. Am I humiliating her? But, the old man shouted without hesitation, there is no but. Call her over immediately and tell her to serve young Master Feng well. If she doesn't, then from now on, she is no longer a member of our Liu family. Chapter 655, Their backers are bigger. Feng Xiaoyu stretched lazily in the morning and glanced at the girl who was still sleeping next to him. There were still traces of tears on the girl's face, especially when he saw the bloodstains on a bath towel next to him. Feng Xiaoyu felt better. He didn't expect that the Liu family would send a girl from their family. Not only was she young and beautiful, but she was also a virgin. The attitude of the Liu family was indeed very satisfying. Thinking about the attitude of the ZHU family, Feng Xiaoyu was even more annoyed. This time he must kill the ZHU family. The sound of getting up woke up the girl. Although the girl felt wronged, she still struggled to get up and served Feng Xiaoyu to wash. When Feng Xiaoyu walked out of the room, he saw the old man of the Feng family. He laughed and patted the old man on the shoulder and said, I'm very satisfied. Your Liu family is very good at doing things. As long as Feng Xiao is satisfied. The old man of the Liu family smiled. Feng Xiaoyu laughed again and said, satisfied, very satisfied. He came to sit on the sofa in the living room. Just as Feng Xiaoyu was about to speak, his cell phone rang. Seeing that it was a call from his father at home, he quickly answered it. His father immediately said angrily, asshole, how do you do things? Feng Xiaoyu has not reported yesterday's incident to his family. As a young master in Beijing, it would be very embarrassing if he didn't do this well. The most important thing is that there is fierce competition within the family. If other brothers knew about it, they would definitely make a fuss about it. That's why he immediately contacted the Liu family to redeem the matter and reduce his mistakes. But his father was so angry, he must have known it, and hurriedly said, Dad, it's the ZHU family who doesn't know what's good for them. They really don't take our Feng family seriously. I have contacted the Liu family, and the Liu family also agreed to unite with our Feng family. Next, I will definitely make the ZHU family pay enough. It's just a fool. The Meng family just issued an announcement saying that they would unite with the ZHU family. What? Feng Xiaoyu screamed. You don't even know this. How do you do things? But the Meng family issued an announcement so quickly, which means that the ZHU family has already had contact with the Meng family. It can't be blamed entirely on you. It's just that, after you went there, the ZHU family found an opportunity to break away from our Feng family. Feng Xiaoyu gritted his teeth and said, so that's how it is. The ZHU family is really sinister. I'll kill them. What the hell? With the support of the Meng family, if our Feng family touches them again, it will be a direct war against the Meng family. Do we have the right to go to war with the Meng family now? Feng Xiaoyu's mouth twitched, and he felt extremely aggrieved, but he also knew that what his father said was the truth, and said, then I know what to do. But you contact the Liu family, which is also a good way to save the situation. Do this for me. After hanging up the phone, Feng Xiaoyu frowned, and his face was full of hatred. The old man of the Liu family couldn't hear what was said on the phone, but from what Feng Xiaoyu said and his attitude, he knew that there seemed to be a lot of changes in this matter. Feng Xiao, the old man of the Liu family called out cautiously. Feng Xiaoyu took a deep breath and said, things have changed. Changed? The old man of the Liu family said nervously, the upper echelons of the Feng family don't want to unite with our Liu family? Old man, you think too much. Feng Xiaoyu smiled faintly and said, we are not only cooperating with the Liu family, but also cooperating more deeply. The old man of the Liu family said worriedly. Then Feng Xiao, the situation has changed. Feng Xiao's smile faded and said, I don't know how those bastards from the ZHU family got close to the Meng family in Beijing. Meng family. The old man of the Liu family screamed, and the teacup in his hand fell over. Meng family. He naturally knew that compared with the Meng family, the Feng family was a child and the other was an adult, and this adult was an adult with super abilities. There was no comparison at all. Feng Xiaoyu said angrily, yes, it is the Meng family. The old man of the Liu family twitched his mouth and said, with the support of the Meng family, the ZHU family. Feng Xiao, you must save our Liu family. He was really panicked. The Liu family and the ZHU family have been fighting fiercely in recent years. Although the Feng family said that they supported the ZHU family in the past, they actually did not provide any help at all, so they fought evenly. The last bet caused the Liu family to suffer a lot of losses, but the ZHU family took advantage of the situation to increase their strength, and the gap between the two families widened a lot. Now if the Meng family supports them, and the ZHU family increases their efforts to attack them, then their Liu family may really be in trouble. Feng Xiaoyu narrowed his eyes and said, don't worry. I, Feng Xiaoyu, always keep my words. Since I agree to unite with your Liu family, I will definitely give you the greatest help and protect you. After a pause, Feng Xiaoyu said, you don't have to worry too much. Even if the Meng family announced their alliance with the ZHU family, it was just a warning to our Feng family, telling us not to take action against their ZHU family again. It has nothing to do with your Liu family. But now that the ZHU family has this kind of support, they can target our Liu family more freely in the future. Our Liu family is now far behind them, and I'm afraid our Liu family can't bear it. Feng Xiaoyu snorted and said, are there not enough big families in the provincial capital? Which one of them was easily swallowed up by others? If your Liu family doesn't even have this ability, I really don't understand how your Liu family has survived all these years. The old man of the Liu family was embarrassed for a moment, but this also made him calm down a little. He took 2 deep breaths, and his mind became clear. Yes, even if their ZHU family has surpassed our Liu family now, but our Liu family has so many years of foundation, how can we let them slaughter it easily? Feng Xiaoyu patted the old man on the shoulder and said, for the time being, although our Feng family will not help you deal with the ZHU family, you have to let us see the ability of your Liu family, so that our Feng family will invest more resources to help you develop. The old man of the Liu family nodded and said, yes, I know how to do it. By the way, was it your granddaughter last night? Yes, the child of my 6th son. Well, a pretty good girl. I will take her back when I go back. Although I can't give her the title of wife, she is also my Feng Xiaoyu's woman. The old man of the Liu family was delighted and said, thank you, Mr. Feng. Feng Xiaoyu's words meant that this could be regarded as a marriage between the two families. Alliances between large families, marriage is often a more reliable means, and Feng Xiaoyu also gave their Liu family a reassurance. Chapter 656 Meng Family Brothers. Feng Xiaoyu comforted the Liu family, but he was a little unsure. Generally, if there is any alliance between the big families in Beijing and the local families, no announcement will be issued. This kind of thing, that is known to the world, has great disadvantages. First of all, it is equivalent to a marriage registration. The two families must share honor and disgrace. The big families in Beijing are like men. They must be responsible for the local families, protect the local families, and provide sufficient help. Otherwise, they are men who make money, but don't give money to their families. Secondly, the big families in Beijing usually unite with local families. The main purpose is to seize the interests of the local families. They are all done in private. Such a big fanfare means that, if they do something to bully the local families in the future, they will appear to be very unethical, which will have a great negative effect on the reputation of the Beijing families. With such a huge disadvantage, the Meng family also made such an announcement, which means that the alliance between the Meng family and the ZHU family is unbreakable. It would be fine if there were no problems on the ZHU family's side, but if there were any disturbances, the Meng family would use their powerful strength to help the ZHU family. Of course, there is another possibility. This is just a propaganda. The Meng family sold a favor to the ZHU family and warned the Feng family, and then the matter was left unresolved. However, just after lunch, the old man of the Liu family received the news. The Meng family directly sent several important people from the family to the ZHU family. Feng Xiaoyu immediately knew that he could not get rid of this breath. The alliance between the Meng family and the ZHU family is clearly real. In the future, the Meng family will spare no effort to support the ZHU family. He really regrets it now. If he had not been too strong at the time and had a good talk with the ZHU family, not to mention immediately pushing the ZHU family to the Meng family, at least the Feng family would have gained some benefits. Compared with Feng Xiaoyu's regret, there is also the half joy and half worry of the Liu family. The ZHU family was very excited at this time, and everyone's face was full of joy. The Meng family came so quickly, with such an attitude, especially the people of the Meng family, and the two young masters of the Meng family came, Meng Kefi and Meng Kexiang. These two are both powerful figures in the Meng family, which is enough to show that the Meng family values this alliance. Su Weifeng, as the middleman, was naturally also in the ZHU family at this time. But he immediately felt that the two young masters of the Meng family looked at him with a wrong look, and even with strong hostility. Su Weifeng, our brothers want to talk to you. The main reason why these two young masters came here was to express their attitude. The rest of the specific cooperation methods would be handled by other members of the Meng family. They directly pointed their spearheads at Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng smiled and said, "Of course, no problem." This time, the place where the ZHU family was located was a high-end villa park. Except for the old man, everyone else still liked to live in such a luxurious place. The three people walked into the park, and no one else dared to follow. Stopping, the two turned to face Su Weifeng. Meng Kefi's face darkened and he said, "Su Weifeng, you are so capable that you could deceive my sister." "Cheat?" Su Weifeng smiled and said, "How can you say that?" Meng Kexiang raised his chin and said proudly, "Humph, we have already investigated you. I know all your details." Su Weifeng smiled and said, "Oh, what details about me did you find out?" Su Weifeng's identity in Longzhou is absolutely highly confidential. Only high-ranking generals in the army know it. Meng Keqing knows Su Weifeng's identity because of her importance in the National Scientific Research Institution, but it has nothing to do with her family. Don't think that Song Zinan and Tao Tao know Su Weifeng's identity, because Meng Keqing wants to use them to help Su Weifeng recover from his injuries. In addition, Song Zinan also entered Longzhou, and Tao Tao's hacking ability is also needed by Longzhou. Now he is almost half a non-staff member. Meng Kefi looked confident and said, "Your information in the army is fake." Su Weifeng smiled faintly and said, "Oh. As expected of the Meng family, they can find this out." Meng Kefi said proudly, "Humph, what do you think? There are many colonels from ordinary special forces in China who can do so well. Do you think we can't find out your background?" "Oh, then tell me, what is my background?" Meng Kexiang snorted and said, "Do we have to point this out to you? Confess it yourself." Su Weifeng shrugged and said, "I'm sorry, I really have nothing to confess. Keqing and I are good friends. Keqing has helped me a lot. I will naturally be grateful to Keqing. I also treat Keqing's brothers with courtesy." Meng Kefi and Meng Kexiang looked at each other, both a little depressed. With the strength of the Meng family, it is indeed possible to find out that Su Weifeng's identity from the army is fake, but it is completely beyond their ability to check further. This made them very curious about Su Weifeng's background. They wanted to trick Su Weifeng, but Su Weifeng didn't fall for it at all. Meng Kefei suddenly came over and put his arm around Su Weifeng's shoulders, saying with a smile, "Hey, Su Weifeng, you are not being nice. We came all the way to support you, but you don't even tell us the truth. How can we be friends in the future?" Meng Kexiang frowned and said with an unhappy look, "That's right, you've wasted our kindness." Su Weifeng had long seen the two's intentions and also saw that the two had no hostility towards him, otherwise he wouldn't have treated them like this. At this time, he also smiled and said, "This is a secret, I can't tell you." Damn. The two glared at the same time. Su Weifeng then said with a smile, "If you really want to know, then ask Keqing. If she wants to tell me, I have no objection." The two rolled their eyes immediately. In the Meng family, not only the younger generation, but even their parents' generation, no one has a higher status in the family than Meng Keqing. The reason why the Meng family is so powerful now is largely due to Meng Keqing. She has made outstanding contributions to the country, and the Meng family has obtained so many resources. And although Meng Keqing is a very easygoing and gentle person in front of Su Weifeng, in the eyes of the Meng family, Meng Keqing is definitely a very strong existence. As long as Meng Keqing's face is gloomy, people like Meng Kefei and Meng Kexiang will be so scared that they dare not even breathe. This is also why, as soon as Meng Keqing arranged it, their buddies immediately rushed to do it. Chapter 657 Test. Meng Kefei and Meng Kexiang could not find out about Su Weifeng's background. It was even harder to guess about Su Weifeng. Once they investigated, they could easily find out several major events that Su Weifeng had done here. He had actually been involved in all the major families in a city and a province. Even the young masters from Beijing did not have this kind of strength. They even suspected that Su Weifeng's background was from a big family in Beijing, or something more powerful than a family. But from the current point of view, apart from the support of their Meng family for Su Weifeng, none of the big families in Beijing had any contact with Su Weifeng. The most important thing was that Meng Keqing valued him very much, which made the Meng family pay more attention to him. Meng Kefei hesitated for a moment and asked cautiously, "Okay, we won't ask about your background and origins, but you have to tell me about your relationship with Meng Keqing, right?" Su Weifeng smiled and said, "Relationship? What do you think our relationship is?" Meng Kefei and Meng Kexiang looked at each other, and then Meng Keqing gritted her teeth and spoke more carefully, obviously considering every word. "Are you in love?" After saying this, the two of them actually seemed very nervous. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, "You still have to ask Keqing about this." The two of them suddenly looked dark. If they dared to ask, what else would they say? The problem now is that they don't know whether Su Weifeng and Meng Keqing are in a relationship. If they are a couple, then Su Weifeng has a higher status in their minds, and they can't afford to offend him. If not, and they are just friends, then at least they will be more comfortable in front of Su Weifeng. Not to mention any sense of superiority, at least they should be able to be on an equal footing. But Su Weifeng threw all the questions back at them now, making them feel uncomfortable. Su Weifeng looked at the two of them and found it a little funny. At the same time, he was also certain of Meng Keqing's transcendent status in the Meng family. He couldn't embarrass the two of them too much, so he changed the subject and said, "You're overthinking it. Keqing and I are indeed friends. You've all checked my background. I'm married, and I have several lovers." Meng Kefei and Meng Kexiang both breathed a sigh of relief. Meng Kefei patted Su Weifeng on the shoulder and said with a smile, "For men, it's okay to be a little fickle, especially for capable men. It's just right for women to throw themselves at them, haha." Meng Kexiang also said nonchalantly, "It's okay to play with this woman, but don't take her too seriously. Women are sometimes very annoying." Su Weifeng smiled and said, "I don't agree with this. I'm still very serious about women. As long as I like someone, I will treat her sincerely." Meng Kefei chuckled and said, "Su Weifeng, if you say something else, I can believe it, but when it comes to sincerity, I won't believe it, even if you kill me. There are so many women around you, no less than 6 or 7 now, and a pair of sisters. In your situation, you still tell me that you are sincere. Isn't this too much?" Meng Kexiang said in deep agreement, "Yes, your joke is really not funny. I look down on you for this. We are men. We have to admit what we have done. Playing is playing. It is better to put everything out in the open. With your current status, it is too ungentle to use deception and force. It is the highest realm when both parties are willing. Meng carefully patted Su Weifeng on the shoulder again and said, "You are a little naive in this regard. Passing through the flowers without getting a single leaf on you is what we need to do. Women are like that. The more you care about them, the more they will be arrogant. If you ignore them, they will be honest one by one." Meng Kexiang didn't care at all. Su Weifeng secretly complained in his heart, "Do you dare to say this to Meng Keqing?" But he could only say this in his heart, and on the surface he still looked humble and willing to learn. As for their attitude towards women, although Su Weifeng disagreed, he didn't argue with them too much. Children of big families like them, especially those of big families in Beijing, are really powerful. From childhood to adulthood, they must be the most favored by everyone. I wonder how many opposite sexes want to be their women. This is like a certain internet celebrity rich kid. The women around him change faster than clothes, but few people criticize his attitude towards women. There are even countless women who want to be one of them, even if it is just a flash in the pan. But if this happened to some ordinary people, they would definitely be criticized and despised by countless people. Whether you admit it or not, the world is not so fair. At least it cannot be completely fair. Some people have advantages over ordinary people because of their status, ability, etc. And the main reason why Su Weifeng did not have any bad feelings towards the two of them was that they said that they would not lie or force, so there was really no need to criticize them for this matter. That night, the ZHU family held a grand dinner. The guests were all young people from big families in the entire provincial capital, and they had already been notified in advance. This time, the ZHU family invited the two young masters of the Meng family to come over, just to have some fun together, and show the enthusiasm of the families in the province. The two young masters of the Meng family in Beijing are simply unattainable for the children of the families in the provincial capital. Normally, those who can come into contact with the young masters of the Meng family are the most powerful people in the major families. These young people usually don't even have the opportunity to come into contact with the Meng family. In fact, the major families are also clear in their hearts that this is the ZHU family showing their cooperative relationship with the Meng family, that is, showing the current strength of their ZHU family. But for everyone, all of this is just envy, jealousy, and hatred. Whether they are willing or not, they must attend this banquet. The Liu family also got the news at this time. At this time, several important figures of the Liu family were looking at Feng Xiaoyu with bitter faces. Feng Xiaoyu's face was gloomy at this time, and then he took a deep breath and said, Liu family also sent people, so I have to go too. The Meng family has arrived. If I don't go, the Meng brothers will pick a fight. The old man of the Liu family smiled bitterly and said, then the ZHU family and the Meng family will not. Don't worry, they won't do anything to you. Our Feng family will protect your Liu family. Even the Meng family won't dare to mess around. Feng Xiaoyu said with full confidence, but whether he has this confidence in his heart, that's something he knows. But no matter what, he can't lose his confidence in front of the Liu family, otherwise the Liu family will no longer listen to them, and then the families in this province will be completely out of the control of their Feng family, which is definitely a major loss for the Feng family. Chapter 658, really awesome. Su Weifeng didn't want to be public, let alone high profile. But in this situation, he couldn't help being high profile, because too many people from big families have already paid attention to him. And being too low-key is not necessarily a good thing, because some people who don't know what's good for you will come to trouble you. But when they know that you are not easy to mess with, or even completely unable to mess with you, they will never dare to mess with you again. During this period, those people who were blind had trouble with his parents and his friends, so occasionally being high profile can solve all these troubles. Su Weifeng and Qiao Yushan also dressed up today. Su Weifeng was wearing a grey suit and Qiao Yushan was wearing a white evening dress. Standing together, they were really a perfect match. Boss, sister-in-law, Zheng Yulang and Zhao Mingyang came early and greeted Su Weifeng when they saw him. After chatting for a while, ZHU Xiaoxuan also came over and said, Brother Su, Yushan, I'll take some photos for you. You two are such a good match today. Qiao Yushan smiled and pulled Zhu Xiaoxun, saying, then let's take photos together. Zhu Xiaoxun was a little embarrassed. Qiao Yushan smiled and said, Yulong and Minggyang are not outsiders, it's okay, Yulong, come and take 2 photos for us. Zheng Yulong and Zhao Minggyang suddenly widened their eyes, and then both gave Su Weifeng a thumbs up and said, the boss is the boss. Su Weifeng smiled and said, don't flatter randomly. Zheng Yulong smiled and said to Zhu Xiaoxun, we will also call you sister-in-law in the future, should it be okay? Zhu Xiaoxun blushed slightly, but did not deny it. She said generously, it's okay in private, but don't show it in front of outsiders. Understood. Zheng Yulong and Zhao Minggyang agreed in unison. The two took out their cell phones and asked Qiao Yushan and Zhu Xiaoxun to stand on the left and right of Su Weifeng and tease that the 3 of them should pose in some intimate postures. Seeing that Qiao Yushan and Zhu Xiaoxun were very cooperative, and both of them always had that sweet smile on their faces, this made Zheng Yulong and Zhao Minggyang admire them even more. This is Zhu Xiaoxun, the eldest daughter of the Zhu family, and now she has become Su Weifeng's woman. The most important thing is that she is not the queen, but she is still happy with it. This Su Weifeng is simply magical. After a while, there were guests. Zhu Xiaoxun went to greet the guests, and Qiao Yushan also went to the side. He did not participate in the conversation between the men. Sister-in-law is really knowledgeable and reasonable. Zheng Yulong gave Su Weifeng a thumbs up. Su Weifeng smiled, changed the subject, and said, you two should be doing well recently. The 2 of them immediately showed gratitude and shame in their eyes. What's wrong? Su Weifeng asked puzzledly. Zheng Yulong said, that time, we didn't convince the family to rush to the front, and then we got so many benefits. We feel uneasy. Zhao Minggyang also said, yes, the more benefits we get, the more we feel that we are nothing. This is simply sitting back and enjoying the fruits of others' labor. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, you don't have to do this. At that time, you had already made enough efforts, and your influence in the family was there, so how could you have done so much? Now that your status has been improved, you will naturally be able to do more things in the future. Putting his arm around the shoulders of the 2, Su Weifeng said, when you treated me as a brother, I was not as glorious as I'm now, so I have always treated you as brothers. This time, the Meng family and the Zhu family are cooperating, and the Zhu family will reach a peak. You will definitely be able to catch up with the Zhu family. Zheng Yulong and Zhao Minggyang were both refreshed. This word of brother was enough to make them work hard for Su Weifeng, and they had to admit that it was definitely worth it. At this time, the Meng brothers also came over. Su Weifeng introduced Zheng Yulong and Zhao Minggyang to Meng Kefi and Meng Kexiang. In front of Su Weifeng, Meng Kefi and Meng Kexiang were like 2 normal young people, and they didn't seem to be too arrogant in front of the Zhu family. But that was because of Meng Keqing. But in front of Zheng Yulong and Zhao Minggyang, they were more polite. They just nodded to Zheng Yulong and Zhao Minggyang as a greeting. Zheng Yulong and Zhao Minggyang were a little flattered, and didn't think that the other party was impolite at all. Seeing Su Weifeng chatting and laughing with Meng Kefi and Meng Kexiang, talking so casually, Zheng Yulong and Zhao Minggyang were shocked again in their hearts. Even if they already thought highly of Su Weifeng, at this time, they had to re-evaluate Su Weifeng's strength. Being able to talk to Meng Kefi and Meng Kexiang like this seemed to prove that Su Weifeng was on an equal footing with them. A person who can stand on equal footing with the young master of the largest family in Beijing. His status is so high that it is unimaginable. And just now, Su Weifeng put his arm around their shoulders and said that they were brothers. They only now understood that Su Weifeng treated them as brothers, which was simply a great honor. Zheng Yulong and Zhao Minggyang suddenly felt a surge of blood in their chests, which was an indescribable excitement. They even wanted to yell a few times at the top of their lungs to express their excitement. Yulong, Minggyang, you two are like chicken blood. What benefits have you gained? Several children from large families wanted to greet Zheng Yulong and Zhao Minggyang, but when they saw their expressions, they couldn't help but ask a question in confusion. Zheng Yulong laughed and said, nothing. Zhao Minggyang also laughed, but shook his head slightly and said, we just feel in a good mood today. Those people looked at Zheng Yulang and Zhao Mingyang with even more surprise. Why do Zheng Yulang and Zhao Mingyang look so different today? It can even be said that everyone feels that they can't see through them. It seems that these two guys have suddenly learned to hide their emotions and are no longer so flamboyant. Zhao Mingyang and Zheng Yulang have indeed changed a lot. Just now, they looked at Su Weifeng's powerful strength, but they were very low-key. They were so low-key that they didn't feel that Su Weifeng was that strong. When they saw a higher level, they also realized how insignificant they were. What qualifications do they have to show off? What capital do they have to show off? It's like ordinary people's horizons are suddenly opened, and they will feel how stupid they were in the past, and how stupid their previous thinking was. Su Weifeng was not far away, watching the performance of the two, and he smiled. These two guys have grown a lot. When they develop in the future, they will definitely become ZHU Xiaoxuan's help. Chapter 659 Influence. The Liu family members who came to attend the party this time were Liu Fengqing and Liu Fengnian. These two people are also outstanding in the Liu family, and their status is even higher than ZHU Xiaoxuan's in the provincial capital. In the past, when they appeared, they would definitely be the center of attention of all the family members. But today, when they arrived at the banquet, most people looked at them and immediately turned their heads away, as if they didn't see them. This made the two of them extremely depressed, but at this time, they were completely unable to vent their anger. They could only secretly get angry in their hearts and grit their teeth and hope that one day, these blind guys would get retribution. Mr. Feng, I'm sorry for not welcoming you from afar. ZHU Xiaoxuan and ZHU Jianbing greeted the Liu family and Feng Xiaoyu. As for Feng Xiaoyu, their attitude was also quite polite. Although the ZHU family had broken up with Mr. Feng and had the big tree of the Meng family, the Feng family was still extraordinary after all, and it was not something that the current ZHU family could compete with, so they still had to give face. Feng Xiaoyu laughed and said, "You're welcome. I'm just joining in the fun. I'm also from the capital. If I don't come to see the two elder brothers of the Meng family, it would be too rude." The people here really didn't know who Feng Xiaoyu was. At this time, when they heard Feng Xiaoyu say this, it was undoubtedly to say that he was also a young master from the capital. Looking at Liu Fengnian and Liu Fengqing from the Liu family, everyone suddenly understood something. No wonder the Liu family dared to come here today. It was clearly supported by the big families in the capital. This is really exciting. The Meng family and the Liu family are already the two best families in the provincial capital. Now they have even pulled in the big families in the capital. This fight will definitely be more exciting. ZHU Xiaoxuan smiled slightly and said, "Mr. Feng, please come this way." ZHU Xiaoxuan brought Feng Xiaoyu and the two brothers of the Liu family to Meng Kethi and Meng Kexiang. Feng Xiaoyu was about to speak, but his face froze. He actually saw Su Weifeng here. Meng Kethi said with a smile, "Xiaoyu, you came here too. Why didn't you tell us in advance? We have a companion when we come out together." Feng Xiaoyu's face froze. The Meng family robbed the ZHU family, and now they are still saying this. It is clear that they are using sarcastic words to irritate people. To Mengs, you don't have to embarrass me. The ZHU family is now cooperating with your Meng family, and I have a great crime. Meng Kethi said with a smile. "Where did you say that?" "As if our Meng family robbed your Feng family's partner. You can go and find out. Our Meng family has never done such a thing before. It is because you don't cooperate with the ZHU family that we decided to cooperate with the ZHU family." Feng Xiaoyu cursed in his heart. This Meng Kethi is really a thief. He originally wanted to set a trap for the Meng family and let them fall into injustice first. But he directly blocked the words. If he wanted to make more fuss about this matter, it would be self-humiliating. With a wry smile, Feng Xiaoyu said, "I naturally know that the Meng family is not to blame for this, but it was my mistake. That's why I asked the Liu family to cooperate with our Feng family. Two young masters, just take care of me and don't let me go back to get scolded. It's also a good thing to do my job." Meng Kethi narrowed his eyes, looked at the two Liu family members behind Feng Xiaoyu, and said with a smile, "You and the Liu family don't have to worry about this. As long as no one makes a move against the ZHU family, we will not interfere in the affairs of the ZHU family. Feng Xiaoyu laughed dryly and said, look at what young Master Meng said. The ZHU family has cooperated with your Meng family. How could our Feng family be so ungrateful? Meng Kefi nodded and said, then of course we will not interfere in the affairs of local families casually. Even if they have some struggles in private, that is something that a family must face. Feng Xiaoyu said, with young Master Meng's words, I feel relieved. Although they are both young masters in Beijing, Feng Xiaoyu definitely has no say in front of Meng Kefi and Meng Kexiang. Anyone with a bit of insight here can see the difference in status between the young masters of the capital. Feng Xiaoyu was relieved that the Meng family promised this. But looking at Su Weifeng, he frowned secretly. Su Weifeng actually sat with the two young masters of the Meng family, and he was so calm and composed. Feng Xiaoyu even had an illusion that Su Weifeng's status was even higher than the two young masters of the Meng family. This time, I must investigate Su Weifeng carefully. If this person is really strong, then the mistake I made this time is not unfair. Feng Xiaoyu and the two brothers of the Liu family left quickly, and the two brothers of the Liu family didn't even say a word. These people, who were originally the most glorious young people in the whole province, seemed to be nothing in front of the children of the big families in the capital. This was also the first time that the children of the big families in the province really realized the gap between the provincial families and the capital. This gap was so big that they could not imagine it before. The banquet was not long and not too lively, but the impact on the provincial capital was quite large. This banquet can be said to have redefined the pattern between the big families in the entire province. The ZHU family soared to the sky and became the unshakable overlord in the province. The Zheng family and the Zhao family followed suit, and from the close relationship between these two families and the ZHU family, they are expected to catch up with other families soon. Although the Liu family has the support of the Feng family in Beijing, it seems meaningless at this time. No one thinks that the Liu family can restore its former glory. At most, it may be that the ZHU family, for the sake of the Feng family, has left room for action, allowing the Liu family to maintain the dignity of a big family. And Su Weifeng, once again, has attracted more attention or from the children of the provincial capital families. This also made everyone understand that the ZHU family can have such a relationship with the Meng family because of Su Weifeng, and the ZHU family has a good relationship with Su Weifeng, and everyone immediately thought of ZHU Xiaoxun. Although ZHU Xiaoxun did not have any excess of intimate actions with Su Weifeng in front of everyone, but everyone can see that ZHU Xiaoxun and Su Weifeng definitely have a relationship beyond friendship. As for whether Su Weifeng brought his wife, or whether he was married, no one cared much. When everyone dispersed, the two brothers of the Meng family went directly back to the capital. Their duties have been completed, and the rest of the things will be handled by other people in the Meng family. Finally, it was over, and the three returned to Qiao Yushan's home. ZHU Xiaoxun let out a light breath, with an extremely excited smile on his face, and said, Brother Su, the wish of several generations of our ZHU family has been easily fulfilled with your help. Qiao Yushan chuckled and said, in this case, you will pledge yourself to me today. ZHU Xiaoxun's serious statement was immediately ruined by Qiao Yushan. Chapter 660 Black Shop. It's snowing. It's snowing. Su Weifeng hadn't woken up, yet when the door was knocked open and Zhao Xiaoshu rushed in, Sun Yumeng was so scared that she quickly pulled up the quilt and covered herself tightly. Zhao Xiaoshu chuckled and said, why are you covering yourself so tightly? You're not naked. Sun Yumeng also had an original reaction. She rolled her eyes at Zhao Xiaoshu and said, why are you making a fuss so early in the morning? Zhao Xiaoshu smiled and said, I know I disturbed you, but it's snowing. The first snow of this year, and it's so heavy. Shouldn't we go out and play? Sun Yumeng's eyes lit up and said, that's right. Then he lifted the quilt and ran to the window. Su Weifeng also came to the window and looked at the dense snow outside, but there was only a thin layer of snow on the ground. Yangcheng is a coastal city. It rarely snows in winter, and even if it snows, it is difficult to accumulate thick snow. That's why Zhao Xiaoshu and Sun Yumeng were so excited to see the snow. Lin Zhuangxuan ran out soon after, taking the two of them to the snow outside. However, the snow stopped soon, and the snow on the ground turned into a mixture of water and snow, which was not fun at all. Seeing the three people's disappointment, Su Weifeng smiled and said, "I have a suggestion. Let's go to shoot a story about a snowy village, so that we can go out and play for a few days." Lin Zhuangxuan looked at Zhao Xiaoshu and Sun Yumeng and said with a smile, "If there is a script, we can shoot it." Zhao Xiaoshu chuckled and said, "We need to find inspiration in places with a lot of snow." Now they get along very well. Although Zhao Xiaoshu and Sun Yumeng still respect Lin Zhuangxuan, they can also joke with each other at ordinary times. That afternoon, Su Weifeng and his team took more than a dozen people from the company and took the high-speed rail to the northern ice and snow city of Harbin. Crossing 2 provinces and traveling more than 1,000 kilometers, they finally checked into a hotel in Harbin at night. After resting for a night, they rented a car and came to the famous snow town the next day. The hotels in the snow town are also very local, that is, the Earthen Kang. It was icy and snowy outside, more than 20 degrees below zero, but the room was warm as spring. Everyone's work attitude is still very serious. After arriving here, the first thing they did was to shoot a short film. Then everyone started to play, making snowballs and snowmen, and they were so happy. There were many girls coming this time, and it was not easy for everyone to make trouble with Su Weifeng at ordinary times. Now they got the chance, and a group of people threw Su Weifeng into the snow pile. Lin Zhuangxuan and the others didn't mind, and they also followed suit. Lin Zhuangxuan and the others didn't mind Su Weifeng developing other girls in the company, but Su Weifeng didn't have such an idea at all. In matters of love, once it is deliberate, Su Weifeng really can't invest. After playing enough, everyone must try the unique food of the northern snow town. They found a restaurant and went in. There were more than 20 people in total, and they were divided into 2 tables. As the boss, they don't have to worry about ordering dishes. The company now has a special office, and the people in the office are responsible for taking care of these things. Pork stewed with sauerkraut, chicken stewed with mushrooms, and various mountain delicacies were all served. "Hey, can this kind of thing be eaten?" Su Weifeng asked in confusion as he looked at the bowl of toads brought over. The waiter hurriedly said, "Boss, this is a specialty from the mountains here. You can't eat it normally. It's very rare." Su Weifeng frowned and said, "I remember that this thing is a protected animal. Isn't it illegal for us to eat this?" The waiter's face changed, and he said, "It's not illegal. In fact, we have many breeders here. These things are all farmed. Don't think that farmed ones are bad. They still use the same water, and they definitely taste the same as wild ones." Su Weifeng smiled and said, "Farmed ones are okay. Let's try them." It was only late December, but it was not yet the real tourist season, so there were not many guests here. In this restaurant, there were no other guests, except the 2 tables of Su Weifeng and his friends. After eating and drinking, the people in the office went to pay the bill, but after a while, they came to Su Weifeng in a hurry with anger on their faces and said, "Mr. Su, this is a black shop. They charged us 16,000 yuan for all the food we ate." Lin Zhuangxuan snatched the bill, took a look, and immediately said angrily, "Why is it so expensive? The price of toads here is 260 yuan per catty. There are many of us, so we ordered 4 catties, but it is shown here as 260 yuan per toad, which is more than 10,000 yuan more." At this time, 4 people came over. These 4 people are all men. All of them are strong and sturdy, with some of the authority of northern men. The one walking in front is the boss, who has a smile on his face and said, "Everyone, have you eaten?" Su Weifeng knocked on the table lightly and said, "Boss, the bill is not right, right?" The boss immediately patted his chest and said, "Why is it wrong? Our store is a well-known and reputable old store. We will never do anything to defraud customers." Su Weifeng said lightly, "Aren't the toads we eat 261 pounds? The boss burst out laughing and said, "PFFT, you are joking. Do you know how precious this thing is now? 261 pounds? 261. These are all cheap. We don't make any money, okay?" Su Weifeng narrowed his eyes and said, "Didn't you say that these are farmed? Then they are not worth the money, right?" Zhao Xiaoshu stood up angrily and shouted, "You just swore that these things were farmed. Now you sell them to us as wild ones. We don't recognize them. Zhao Xiaoshu slammed the table and shouted, we don't care whether it's wild or not. We will only pay for it if it's farmed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 661, Killing Guests. Su Weifeng waved his hand, and Sun Yumeng immediately pulled Zhao Xiaoshu to sit down. Although Zhao Xiaoshu was still a little angry, Su Weifeng stopped her, which meant that the next thing would be handled by Su Weifeng. Zhao Xiaoshu glared at the boss, and a gloating expression appeared in his eyes. A boss in a restaurant actually dared to challenge Su Weifeng. He really didn't know how to write the word death. The boss looked at Su Weifeng and said with a fake smile, you should be their leader, young man. You brought so many beauties out to play together. I can see that you are not simple. 18,000 yuan is just a small amount of money for you. Why do you lose face in front of the girls? Su Weifeng narrowed his eyes and said, I just want to ask you one question. Are these toads wild or farmed? Of course they are wild. The boss raised his chin and said with certainty. Su Weifeng said, you are selling wild animals here. Isn't that illegal? Illegal? Haha, you are a knowledgeable person, but it is illegal for us to sell wild animals, but it is also illegal for you to eat wild animals. Haha, do you want to expose my place? The boss said this, and he looked fearless. Lin Zhuangxuan frowned and said, yes, I will definitely expose your place. Haha. The boss laughed and said, if you want to expose it, then do it. I'm just an ordinary restaurant owner. I can't do business here for 3 months a year. Even if you expose me, at most you will close my store. But I see that your identities are not simple. If the matter of eating wild animals is exposed, I'm afraid that you will suffer a greater loss, right? Lin Zhuangxuan and the others were all froze. They were all artists here. Even if they were not famous, some of them had accumulated some fans. If this matter was exposed, they would definitely receive a lot of negative comments, and the impact would definitely be greater than that of the store owner. When the shop owner saw everyone's faces, he laughed and said, everyone, when we are out and about, we all believe in making money by being harmonious. You are outsiders here, and as the host, I cannot be too unfair. How about this? I will give you a small discount and charge you 15,000. Su Weifeng laughed and said, you are really quite fair. The shop owner laughed again and said, of course, I like making friends the most. If you come to my place to eat again in the future, I will give you a discount. Su Weifeng shook his head and said, when it comes to my friends, I will not blink an eye, even if it is 100,000 or 80,000. But, if you want to rip me off, you can't give me a penny. That's right, you can't rip us off. How can you do business like this? Do you think we are outsiders and are easy to bully? As soon as Su Weifeng finished speaking, the people in the company immediately started to make a noise. Although there were mostly women, they were outnumbered and had no fear. Haha. What's the matter? Want to play hardball with us? The shop owner sneered and suddenly shouted, brothers, someone is going to eat a free meal. As soon as the boss finished speaking, a dozen people rushed out from the back kitchen, each holding kitchen utensils, such as kitchen knives and boning knives, and surrounded the 2 tables of Su Weifeng and his team. The faces of the employees in Su Weifeng's company suddenly became extremely ugly, and they dared not say a word. At this moment, their advantage of numbers was gone, and the other side was all men, and they had weapons in their hands. Most of them were girls, and even if they were men, they were all handsome boys, and there were no 2 people who looked like they could fight. Lin Zhuangxuan and the others were also a little worried at this time. With Su Weifeng here, even if the other side had so many people, their safety would definitely not be a problem, but there were so many employees here, and if any one of them got into trouble, it would be troublesome, which made them have to worry. Su Weifeng stood up and said, you are really a shady shop here. The boss snorted and lost his patience. He said with a gloomy face, stop talking nonsense here. Pay the money and leave. If you don't pay, don't blame us for being rude to you. Su Weifeng raised the corner of his mouth and suddenly came to the boss in a flash. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the boss's neck. Ah, Fuck, you dare to do it, beat him. Although the boss's neck was pinched, he could still speak at this time. He grabbed Su Weifeng's wrist with both hands and kicked Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng did not dodge. He raised his arm and the boss, who was more than 1.8 meters tall and weighed more than 200 pounds, was lifted up by Su Weifeng with one hand. Now that the boss's neck was strained, the kick he made with his foot suddenly became limp and powerless. He tried desperately to pry Su Weifeng's hands apart with both hands, but Su Weifeng's hands were like pliers. He used all his strength, but still couldn't move them at all. Seeing this, the others immediately rushed towards Su Weifeng, punching and kicking him directly. Su Weifeng held the boss in one hand and swung the other hand casually, knocking the men out in a few strokes. "Let go of our boss, or I'll use a knife." A guy shook the knife in his hand and roared viciously. Su Weifeng sneered and said, "Come over if you have the guts." The men holding the weapons looked at each other at this time. They usually use the weapons to scare people. When outsiders were scared, they would be obedient. But when they met such a tough guy, they were also confused. The most important thing was that they didn't dare to use a knife. Su Weifeng loosened his grip at this time, and the boss fell to the ground. "What do you say now?" Su Weifeng narrowed his eyes and looked down at the boss. "I don't want money, I don't want money." The boss also knew that he had met a tough guy. After coughing a few times, he hurriedly said so. Su Weifeng snorted and said, "It's not okay to not pay. We are not willing to take advantage of you. Director Lee, go and settle the bill." "Okay." Director Lee is the office director of Su Weifeng and his colleagues. At this time, he went over to scan the code and pay according to the normal price and took photos of various bills and menus. "Let's go." Su Weifeng led everyone out of the restaurant. Even after the employees in the company came out, they didn't dare to speak one by one. Until they arrived at the nearby residence, they were still a little worried. Su Weifeng knew that they would definitely be afraid. After all, this is in another place. Since those people dared to do such a thing, who knows if they would do anything else? Chapter 662 Fake Police. Su Weifeng summoned the leaders to his room and then gave them some instructions, asking them to go back and comfort the employees in their department. Tell them that nothing will happen here and that everyone doesn't need to worry. Especially Zhao Xiaoshu and Sun Yumeng also went over to comfort people, which made everyone feel a little relieved, but everyone was obviously still a little worried, fearing that the other party would come to cause trouble again. It seemed that everyone's worries soon came true, and the boss and a few people surrounded the two people and came to where Su Weifeng and his friends lived. The boss pointed at Su Weifeng and roared angrily, "It's them. It's this guy who ate and rushed in our restaurant and beat up several of us." The two men glanced at Su Weifeng and the others, then their faces sank. One of them said, "We are from the police station. We have received a report that you didn't pay for your meal and you also beat people." The other party was actually from the police station. Lin Zhuangxuan was afraid that Su Weifeng would have another conflict with the other party, which would be difficult to resolve. She quickly stood in front of Su Weifeng and said to the two policemen, "Comrade police, their prices are really outrageous. One price when you order, and another price when you settle the bill. We have evidence here. For a team that specializes in short videos, shooting casually is everyone's habit. It can be said that there are almost people shooting from entering the store to leaving the store. It is too easy to produce evidence." The two policemen frowned slightly, and one of them said, "It's not easy for them to run a restaurant. They are all very hard working. You are here to have fun, and you are short of a little money. The most important thing is to have fun. I think it's better to let the store give you a discount, and you pay a little more, and forget about it." The store owner still showed a very unwilling expression and said, "Comrade police, I have lost a lot of money." The police glared and said, "You deserve the loss. Who told you not to explain it clearly to the guests in advance? Besides, they are guests who came from afar. Even if you are entertaining guests, what's the harm of you inviting them for free?" The boss said helplessly, "Okay, then I will accept it. I will give you a 40% discount and round off a little bit and charge you 10,000 yuan. The original price was 15,000 or 6,000 yuan, but now it is directly charged at 10,000 yuan, and there are also police to mediate, which seems to be acceptable." Many employees of the company think that this matter can be ended like this. Even Sun Yumeng and Zhao Ziaoshu thought so. After all, everyone was out to have fun, so there seemed to be no need to cause trouble. Unexpectedly, Su Weifeng said calmly at this time, "You said 10,000, so it's 10,000? The two policemen immediately turned to look at Su Weifeng and said, "Do you have any other opinions?" Su Weifeng said coldly, "We will not spend less money, that should be spent, but we will not spend more money, that should not be spent, especially those who rip off customers. We will not condone them." Lin Zhuangxuan raised his chin and said, "Yes, these people are clearly ripping off customers. As police officers, you don't investigate properly, but just try to smooth things over. This is simply fueling their arrogance, and will only cause more customers who come here to be slaughtered by them." A policeman's face sank and said, "Little girl, are you doubting the work of our police?" Su Weifeng chuckled and said, "Police? What kind of police are you? Your uniforms are basically auxiliary police." The two policemen looked a little ugly, and the boss immediately shouted, "Auxiliary police are also police." Su Weifeng snorted and said, "Although auxiliary police are considered police officers, they must be led by formal police officers when they go out to enforce the law. Now there are no formal police officers, which means you are here to do things privately. Do I need to explain the trick clearly?" One of the policemen glared and said, "We don't have enough regular police here. Usually we are the ones in charge here. Now I'm helping to mediate. You don't even know what is good for you. If you can't solve the problem later, you will be in trouble." Lin Zhuangxuan glared and said, "Is this what you policemen should say? I even suspect that you are not even auxiliary police officers. They are just calling to deceive people." Zhao Ziaoshu also jumped out from the side, pointed at the two policemen and said, "I have been in contact with the police, and know that even auxiliary police officers know some basic laws and regulations. Can you answer to questions about the laws and regulations for me?" The faces of the two policemen suddenly became even uglier, and they subconsciously took a step back. One of them said in a stern manner, "Who are you, and why should we answer your questions?" Zhao Ziaoshu stretched out his hand and said, "Okay, even if you are an auxiliary police, you have your ID. Come on, show us your ID. As long as you can prove your true identity, we will listen to you and give you the money." The two policemen looked at each other, their eyes were full of panic, and then they looked at the restaurant owner, obviously waiting for the restaurant owner to make a decision. At this time, the police car sounded, and a police car quickly stopped at the door of the hotel, and several policemen walked in quickly. The two auxiliary police are behind the restaurant owner at this time, obviously wanting to run away. Who called the police? At a glance, the momentum of these policemen was completely different from the two guys just now. Lin Zhuangxuan immediately said, "Comrade police, we called the police. The restaurant here is overcharging customers." In addition, they teamed up with two people who are not sure if they are real police officers to blackmail us. One of the policemen in his 30s glared and shouted angrily, "How bold. It is simply destroying our reputation and affecting our tourism industry. This must be dealt with severely." The restaurant owner hurriedly said, "Director Liu, we didn't do it. It's unfair. Asshole, you have been complained many times here, but you still don't repent. Especially finding someone to pretend to be a policeman, which is even more damaging to the image of our police. No one can save you this time." The rest of the police immediately took all these guys into the police car. Only then did Director Liu saluted Su Weifeng and said loudly, "Hello, instructor." The restaurant owner didn't take it too seriously. He had been doing business here for so many years, and he still overcharged customers like this. He had some connections. But when he heard the "hello, instructor," he felt that things were not good this time. It seemed like he was kicking on an iron plate. The policeman's name is Liu Zian. He used to be in the army. Su Weifeng once served as an instructor in his army for a short period of time. Su Weifeng did not expect to meet Liu Zian here. Smiling and waving his hand, Su Weifeng said, "I really didn't expect to meet you here, and you have become the director." Liu Zian smiled and said, "My family asked me to go home, so I had to come back to hang out. I'm so happy to meet an instructor here. Let's get drunk tonight." Chapter 663. Who do you like more? Comrades meet and drink old wine. However, Su Weifeng did not drink with Liu Zian. After all, Su Weifeng had to consider everyone's safety when he brought so many people out. The two sat down and chatted for a while, and Su Weifeng handed the evidence he had taken to Liu Xian. Liu Xian said with guilt, "Instructor, I feel so ashamed. Such a thing happened in the area under my jurisdiction." Su Weifeng patted Liu Xian on the shoulder and said, "The rigorous style in the army must be maintained." Liu Xian stood up and saluted Su Weifeng again, saying loudly, "I will go back now. No matter who comes to intercede this time, I will definitely make this matter an ironclad case and will never allow similar things to happen again." Su Weifeng is a top figure in the big family in the entire provincial capital. But in the company, everyone is an ordinary person, so no one feels how awesome Su Weifeng is. So when he came to another province and encountered such a thing, Su Weifeng could actually solve it easily, and he also knew the director of the police station here. It seems that in the hearts of the employees, he is particularly awesome. The original worry was completely put to rest because of Liu Xian's appearance. After dinner, everyone was not sleepy, so they played in the snow in the courtyard of the hotel. When Su Weifeng and the others returned to the room, their faces were red from the cold, and their hands and feet were cold. Several people jumped onto the Kang in a hurry. Lin Zhuangxuan rubbed his hands and said, "It's cold, so cold. Weifeng, you quickly cover your hands for me." Su Weifeng smiled and held Lin Zhuangxuan's hand in the middle. Zhao Xiaoshu smiled and said, "What about me? What about me?" Lin Zhuangxuan smiled and said, "Let it go to you." After pulling his hand out of Su Weifeng's hand, Lin Zhuangxuan directly put his hand into Su Weifeng's clothes. Hiss. Su Weifeng immediately took a breath of cold air. Lin Zhuangxuan stuck out her tongue and said, "Is it okay? How about I take it out?" Su Weifeng rolled his eyes and said, "If you take it out now, I will suffer for nothing. It's okay. It's just a little cold. It's fine now. Come on, Yumeng, Xiaoshu, come over and cover it." Zhao Xiaoshu immediately put her hand in without any hesitation, and Sun Yumeng said distressedly, "No, you will be too cold." Su Weifeng smiled and said, "It's okay. Men are hot. Come over quickly." Under Su Weifeng's persuasion, Sun Yumeng carefully put her hand in. "My feet are so cold too." After a while, the hands of the three people were warm, and Lin Zhuangqing immediately shouted again. It seems that many girls' hands and feet are particularly easy to get cold, and so are Lin Zhuangxuan and the others. Although they have sat on the warm Kang, their feet are still cold. Su Weifeng simply smiled and said, "Okay, 3 young ladies, stretch out your feet. I'll warm them for you." Lin Zhuangxuan burst out laughing and said, "You guy, you are clearly drooling over our feet, don't you think?" Su Weifeng laughed and said, "Okay, that's it. I'm going to have a good time today." Except for Sun Yumeng, who was a little shy, Lin Zhuangxuan and Zhao Xiaoshu were the type who would do it if they wanted to. Under the leadership of these two people, the 3 feet were quickly stuffed into Su Weifeng's clothes. Su Weifeng was so sour and refreshing. The 3 people's feet were soft and smooth. It was originally very refreshing to stick them to his body, but this kind of icy coldness was also a bit unbearable, and their feet were not as easy to warm up as hands. As a master with very advanced medical skills, he knows very well that this is not good for girls' health. Su Weifeng said seriously, "Your feet must be well adjusted in the future, otherwise it will not be good for your body. The most obvious feature is that it is easy to have dysmenorrhea." Zhao Xiaoshu and Sun Yumeng both looked at Su Weifeng eagerly when they heard it. Zhao Xiaoshu said, "Can cold feet affect dysmenorrhea?" Su Weifeng said, "Of course. The foot is the second heart of the human body. There are the most acupuncture points under the foot. Cold feet will cause many problems with the meridians, which must be adjusted." Lin Zhuangxuan chuckled and said, "I can prove this. This guy's massage technique is really powerful. You just enjoy it." Zhao Xiaoshu hurriedly said, "My period is about to come in the next 2 days. Please help me adjust it quickly. I don't want to be in pain anymore." Su Weifeng agreed and pulled Zhao Xiaoshu's feet out directly, then began to press the acupuncture points on the soles of her feet with both hands. Hiss. "Does it hurt a bit?" Zhao Xiaoshu shouted immediately. Lin Zhuangxuan laughed beside him and said, "Just bear with it if it hurts. It hurts at the beginning, but it will feel comfortable later, just like a girl's first time." Zhao Xiaoshu laughed out loud and said, PFFT. Sister Zhuangxun, do you have experience? Of course not. Lin Zhuangxun shrugged. I was just giving an analogy. Zhao Xiaoshu immediately asked Sun Yumeng with a smile. Yumeng, do you have it? Sun Yumeng's face flushed, and she waved her hands in panic, saying, no, absolutely not. Lin Zhuangxun smiled and said, you ask us like this, have you cheated? Come on, confess. Sun Yumeng hurriedly said, yes, you must have cheated. Zhao Xiaoshu glanced at Su Weifeng and said with a face full of resentment, I wanted to cheat, but our big brother Su wouldn't let me, so I could only bear it. When these girls are together, they make a lot of dirty jokes, especially since their target is a man, so they are even more unscrupulous when they make jokes. Even the shy Sun Yumeng sometimes chimes in, and watching them joke, Su Weifeng certainly enjoys it the most. After massaging Zhao Xiaoshu for a while, Su Weifeng let go of his hand and asked, how do you feel now? Zhao Xiaoshu moved around and said, oh, it's so warm, I feel my soles are hot. Su Weifeng said, it's working, Yumeng, it's your turn. Such physical contact was very natural to Sun Yumeng, and Su Weifeng quickly massaged her once. When it came to Lin Zhuangxun, she was already familiar with it. Lin Zhuangxun half leaned against him and kicked Su Weifeng's hand playfully with her little feet, saying, Weifeng, you've touched our feet all over, now don't you have to give your opinion? What opinion? Su Weifeng guessed what Lin Zhuangxun was talking about at once, but he pretended to be confused on purpose, because it was a bit difficult to answer. Lin Zhuangxun chuckled and said, don't play dumb here. You are a foot control, so you must have an evaluation of our feet in your heart. Tell me, whose feet do you like the most among the three of us? Yes, tell me quickly, I also want to know. Although Zhao Xiaoshu and Sun Yumeng never thought of arguing with Lin Zhuangxun, they were still looking forward to this kind of evaluation. Su Weifeng smiled bitterly and was about to speak, but Lin Zhuangxun immediately kicked him again and said, you must tell the truth. Chapter 664. You need to have some ways to coax people. When a man has a wife, the question that women often like most is, that is, in your heart, do you care more about me or your mother? That's why there are all kinds of weird questions, like if your mother and I fell into the river, who would you save first? Women are naturally inclined to compare and compete for favor, and such questions are often the most difficult for men to answer. Su Weifeng's eyes swept over the faces of the three people. Lin Zhuangxun immediately said angrily, I asked you to evaluate our feet. Why are you looking at our faces? Su Weifeng smiled and said, I like all your feet equally. Lin Zhuangxun immediately rolled his eyes at Su Weifeng and said, can we not be so empty? Even if you say who you like, the other two of us won't care. Who makes you a weird uncle who loves feet? Zhao Xiaoshu chuckled and said, we are not comparing. It is because you have such a special fetish that we want to know who you like and how you judge. Although Sun Yumeng did not speak, there was clearly a strong desire for knowledge in her eyes. Su Weifeng's face turned black, and he said, I admit that I like to touch your feet, but I also touch other parts of your body. It's just that there is no difference between touching feet and touching hands. Lin Zhuangxun laughed and said, you are deliberately beating around the bush. Don't do these useless things. Whether you have this fetish or not, you have to judge whose feet you like more. Zhao Xiaoshu was even more anxious and acted like a spoiled child, saying, Brother Su, just tell me. Su Weifeng looked at the eager look of the three people, laughed, and said, okay, then you can tell the truth. It must be the truth. The three people said in unison. Su Weifeng's eyes swept over the feet of the three people one by one, and then he first held Lin Zhuangxun's little feet in his palm and said, Zhuangxun likes sports. The skin on her feet is not only soft, but also very elastic. It feels absolutely the best. Lin Zhuangxun showed a hint of pride in his eyes. Sun Yumeng and Zhao Xiaoshu were not dissatisfied, but there was still a little disappointment in their eyes. Su Weifeng put Lin Zhuangxun's feet down and held Sun Yumeng's feet in his palm and said, Yumeng's feet are the smallest and her skin is the whitest. Every time I touch Yumeng's feet, I feel afraid of pinching them. Without waiting for Zhao Xiaoshu to speak, Su Weifeng pinched one of Zhao Xiaoshu's feet with his other hand and said, Xiaoshu's feet are between Zhuangxun and Yumeng. I can't describe what it feels like, but every time I touch them, I can't let go. Lin Zhuangxuan chuckled and said, you guy are really cunning. It's obvious that you don't want to offend anyone. Su Weifeng laughed and said, you are all women I like. Why should I offend you? I can't even coax you. Besides, you are simply giving me a problem. I obviously like them all. I can't bear to let go of any pair of these 6 little feet all night. How can I tell which one I like the most? Okay, then I'll let you go. Brother Su, what you said makes me feel good. You can play with my feet now. It was icy and snowy outside, but the house was warm as spring, and there was constant laughter. However, after laughing for a while, Su Weifeng went to another room. In the company, even if others speculated that Sun Yumeng and Zhao Xiaoshu had a close relationship with him. But Su Weifeng still had to be careful not to be too ostentatious when getting along with them, otherwise they would be under great pressure from public opinion. The next day, everyone went to the ski resort to play again. A lot of embarrassing videos of skiing and falling were taken. While shooting these, Su Weifeng also played the role of a photographer. He was the only one here who could ski, and the videos shot while moving were more vivid and more realistic. No matter how well the post photos are, they are not as visually impactful as the real scenes. After shooting for a long time, everyone learned to ski to some extent. Although the skiing skills were not high, at least they could slide down. Lin Zhuangxuan, Qiao Yushan and Zhao Xiaoshu were also having fun, and asked Su Weifeng to protect them and take some videos as a souvenir. Ouch. Sun Yumeng suddenly screamed and was hit by someone from behind, falling to the ground. The place where Su Weifeng and his friends were was a gentle slope, so everyone was not sliding very fast at all. Even if they were hit by someone, they would not be injured, but would have more fun. So even if Su Weifeng saw that person was about to hit Sun Yumeng, he did not deliberately stop him. Under normal circumstances, after a collision, the person who hit the other person would smile and apologize, and the person who was hit would not pursue it, and the matter would be over. Are you blind? You saw me coming. Why didn't you get out of the way? Unexpectedly, the person who hit the other person this time, after getting up, not only did not apologize to Sun Yumeng, but he started to curse directly. Sun Yumeng was stunned by the scolding, and opened her mouth twice, not knowing how to respond. After Zhao Xiaoshu and Su Weifeng got together, they became more and more daring, and they also had a bit of a shrewd flavor. At this moment, he grabbed Sun Yumeng and shouted at the guy, you bumped into someone, but you didn't apologize and cursed at them. I've never seen such a person with no manners as you. Everyone was wearing thick ski suits, and you could only see their height and roughly distinguish between men and women. Otherwise, if you want to know what people look like, you can only look at their faces from a close distance. The guy who cursed was probably a young man of about 21 or 22 years old. At this moment, he looked at Zhao Xiaoshu and Sun Yumeng, and a smile suddenly appeared on his face. He said, hey, you are two beautiful girls. Haha, then I won't curse you. Forget about not cursing. Apologize to my friend. Zhao Xiaoshu glared. The young man laughed and said, apologize? Haha, I, Song Qijiang, have never apologized to anyone. Sun Yumeng quickly pulled Zhao Xiaoshu and said, forget it, let's go. Zhao Xiaoshu snorted and didn't want to argue with the other party anymore, so as not to ruin his fun. But Song Qijiang stretched out his hand to stop the two of them, saying, you want to leave so soon? I didn't let you go. What else are you doing? Zhao Xiaoshu was angry and bumped up again. Song Qijiang laughed and said, I'm not doing anything. I just wanted two sisters to play with me. It's such a big ski resort, but I happened to bump into you. Isn't it fate that we meet? Zhao Xiaoshu immediately glared at him and said, how can we talk about fate with someone who doesn't even have basic qualities? Get out of the way. Song Qijiang's face sank and he said, no one in this place dares to talk to me like that. While he was speaking, two big men slid to Song Qijiang's side, one on the left and one on the right, and looked at Zhao Xiaoshu and Sun Yumeng sharply. Chapter 665 Better not mess with me. Zhao Xiaoshu raised his chin and said without giving in, then we have said it, what else can you do? Want to fight? Song Qijiang raised the corner of his mouth and said, how can I be rough with two beautiful girls? This is to prevent you from disobeying and running away. We are trying to keep you. Sun Yumeng's heart tightened, and she quickly said, you'd better not mess around. We won't bother with you. Just leave. Song Qijiang said with a smile. Haha, sister, from what you mean, if we don't leave, will there be any dangerous things? Are you mistaken? Zhao Xiaoshu snorted and said, what do you think? Go quickly, don't wait for my brother Su to come. If you bully us, he won't let you go. Really? Then I want to see who your brother Su is. Call him now, otherwise you can forget about leaving. Su Weifeng was taking a video of Lin Zhuangsun. When he saw that the situation was not right, he just pushed up his ski poles and came in front of Zhao Xiaoshu and Sun Yumeng. He turned to Sun Yumeng and Zhao Xiaoshu and said, you guys can have your own fun. Song Qijiang's face suddenly darkened, and he said, if this matter is not made clear, they can't leave. Su Weifeng had just seen the whole story, and his face darkened at this time, saying, what else do you want? Song Qijiang looked at Su Weifeng proudly, and said, boy, are you the big brother Su they are talking about? Are they your people? Yes. Su Weifeng nodded. Song Qijiang said, very good, I don't care who you are, now I tell you, I like these two girls, make a condition, I want to take them away. Su Weifeng couldn't help showing a look of astonishment on his face at this time, and said, are you sure? Song Qijiang laughed and said, boy, seeing that you brought a few girls out to play, you should be a person with some vision. I'm Song Qijiang. Asking you for 2 girls is also a high opinion of you. Song Qijiang? I don't know him. Have you heard of him? Su Weifeng said, turning to ask Sun Yumeng and Zhao Xiaoshu. Sun Yumeng immediately shook her head, while Zhao Xiaoshu curled his lips and said, what Song Qijiang? Or Song Kehei, you think you are the king of the world, and you can have whoever you want, bah. Song Qijiang's face sank, and he said, it seems that you are from outside the city, and you don't even know me, Song Qijiang. Now I give you a chance, go check it out immediately, and talk to me again, after you know who I am. He stood with his hands behind his back, looking calm as if everything was under control. Sun Yumeng quickly took out his mobile phone to check it, and Zhao Xiaoshu and Su Weifeng also leaned over to look together. There are naturally many people named Song Qijiang on the internet, but the most conspicuous one is still one of them. The 4th grandson of the Song family in Bincheng is now in charge of a large company of the Song family with assets of billions. He is young and promising, and is definitely one of the outstanding young people in Bincheng. But Su Weifeng deliberately found another person named Song Qijiang and started reading. Song Qijiang, a national B-level fugitive, who has committed rape and fraud. Hey, you are actually a fugitive? Zhao Xiaoshu immediately understood Su Weifeng's intention and said immediately, brother Su, what you said seems to be wrong. That person looks like that, how could it be him? This is right. Listen, Song Qijiang has bad habits, taking secret photos, stealing women's underwear, so shameless, he is almost the same as him. Song Qijiang's face suddenly darkened, and he sneered, and said, you are really brave. You are deliberately not taking me, Song Qijiang, seriously. Su Weifeng raised his head and his face sank, and said, we just want to come here to play, and don't want to cause any trouble. You are your master, so you'd better not mess with me. Boy, you are very arrogant, but I, Song Qijiang, will not take back what I said. 1 million, and I will play with these 2 girls for 1 night. After saying this, Song Qijiang looked calm and composed. 1 million, he believed, was attractive enough for many women. 1 million for 1 night, even those big stars would be tempted. But Zhao Xiaoshu and Sun Yumeng's faces suddenly darkened terribly. For them, this was simply a great humiliation. Sun Yumeng still had some restraint, but Zhao Xiaoshu suddenly turned upside down, pointing at Song Qijiang and yelled, is it great to be rich? You're right, I'm rich. I'm great. Song Qijiang shook the ski poles in his hand and said jokingly, and I not only have money, but also power. In Bincheng, is there anyone who can afford to mess with me? Su Weifeng stared at Song Qijiang and said, boy, you're going too far. Too far? Song Qijiang laughed and said, that depends on whether I have the ability. If I have the ability, then there is nothing wrong with it. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. I'll be waiting for them at the exit in an hour. After sliding forward for a while, Song Jiang stopped and said, by the way, I'll kindly remind you that you can choose to leave by yourself, and then you can see what the consequences will be. I like playing this kind of game the most. Stop. Su Weifeng suddenly snorted. What? You agree now? Song Jiang laughed, then shook his head and said, this is boring. You should think about it, or consider making some more conditions to me. Get lost. Su Weifeng suddenly shouted and kicked Song Jiang in the chest. Song Jiang was still standing on his skis, and he slid up the slope for dozens of meters before falling to the ground with a plop. How dare you? Song Jiang's two bodyguards shouted angrily at this time, and the ski poles in their hands were already sweeping towards Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng stretched out his arms and grabbed the ski poles. The two bodyguards were immediately horrified. They almost used all their strength at this time. Their speed and strength were extremely strong. Even if someone was stronger than them, they would never be able to catch the ski poles with bare hands. But the young man in front of him not only caught it, but also caught it without any tricks. This kind of strength is already quite terrifying. Su Weifeng shook his hand, and the two ski poles were already in Su Weifeng's hands. You'd better not let that guy bother me, or I won't let him off easily next time. Su Weifeng said, and threw the ski pole back. Yes. Thank you sir for showing mercy. The two took the ski poles, and they all understood that Su Weifeng was definitely showing mercy. With such strength, if he really used heavy hands, Song Jiang would not be killed, but at least half of his life would be disabled. After the two saluted, they hurried over to help Song Jiang up, and whispered a few words in Song Jiang's ear. Song Jiang, who was extremely irritable, suddenly calmed down and glanced at Su Weifeng and the others, but his eyes were full of viciousness and cruelty. It seems that this kid is still not convinced. Chapter 666 Internal Fight. Sun Yumeng said with some annoyance, Brother Su, I have caused trouble for you again. Zhao Xiaoshu immediately said unconvinced, what do you mean by trouble? They are the ones who are causing trouble for us. Okay. Sister Yumeng, you can't take all the responsibility on yourself. Su Weifeng hugged Sun Yumeng and said, Xiaoshu is right. Others bully you, but you take the responsibility on yourself. This is really unreasonable. Sun Yumeng smiled bitterly and said, but I always feel, wherever I go, I will cause trouble. Su Weifeng shook his head and said, this should be related to your personality. You are too easy to talk to and too weak, so those men will instinctively feel that there is no danger in bullying you. Zhao Xiaoshu nodded repeatedly and said, yes, those stinky men are also bullies. Sister Yumeng, you don't have to be nice to them. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, this is also a matter of personal character. Yumeng is born like this. If you want her to change, it will be too difficult. But you can consider it. I will appear more fierce in the future, so that others will not dare to come over. Lin Zhuangxuan did not come over just now. She slid down the slope. It took a lot of effort to think of this. When she got here, the matter was completely over. Sun Yumeng said worriedly at this time, Brother Su, this Song Jiang should have a complicated background. He seems to be from a big family, and he should be very powerful in Bincheng. Zhao Xiaoshu curled his lips and said, even if he is a big family, what can it be? Don't the big families over there have to do things according to Brother Su's mood? Sun Yumeng shook her head and said, that's our province. Brother Su has his roots there, but here in Bincheng, we are unfamiliar with the place. This may be very dangerous, right? Lin Zhuangxuan also said worriedly, can we hold on? If we are not so sure, let's withdraw first. With so many employees, I'm afraid something will happen. Su Weifeng said, it's nothing, but with so many employees, I'm afraid there will be some omissions. We are almost done here. Let's go back tomorrow morning. Lin Zhuangxuan nodded and said, I'm really afraid that you will act on impulse. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, I'm the kind of person who doesn't bother to offend others unless they offend me. Besides, I won't do that if I want to vent my anger and put the woman I like and my employees in danger. After playing at the ski resort for a while, Su Weifeng led the group out of the ski resort. Su Weifeng immediately discovered that there were two people who had been following them secretly. But Su Weifeng didn't tell Lin Zhuangxuan and the others, so as not to worry them. Su Weifeng didn't even chase the two people away. since the other party wanted to make trouble. Even if Su Weifeng drove the two people away, they would definitely have a way to find him. They returned directly to Bincheng, and Su Weifeng and his group stayed in a 5-star hotel, so that everyone's safety was basically guaranteed. After moving into the room, Su Weifeng received a call. After a brief conversation, Lin Zhuangxuan hung up the phone and said, "Did they come to our house?" Su Weifeng nodded and said, "I'll go and solve the problem. You don't have to show up, especially Yu Meng. She will be under great pressure." Lin Zhuangxuan nodded and said, "It's just a small matter. I'm too lazy to watch the fun. I'll take everyone downstairs to eat buffet." Su Weifeng didn't leave the hotel and went directly to a presidential suite on the top floor. Two burly men stood at the door of the suite. They stretched out their arms to block Su Weifeng's way. "Stop, search," a big man said with a cold face. Su Weifeng narrowed his eyes and said, "Are you sure?" The big man said bluntly, "Yes, if you want to see our second master, you must search him." Su Weifeng chuckled and said, "Then I'll disappear." The two big men were stunned for a moment. Usually, who would not cooperate obediently when coming to see the second master? Now this guy just disappeared without a trace? "Let him in." A middle-aged man's deep voice came from inside. Su Weifeng, however, acted as if he had not heard anything and continued to walk away. "Stop." The two big men were immediately furious and stopped Su Weifeng at once. "Boy, the second master asked you to go in. You dare to leave?" "Humph, I want to leave, and no one can stop me. How dare you?" Looking for death, the two big men attacked together and grabbed Su Weifeng's shoulders directly. But as soon as their hands touched Su Weifeng's shoulders, the shoulders could not slip into their hands, and both of them grabbed empty hands. Then, their arms were suddenly pulled and tugged by a strong force. With 2 clicks, the arms of the two were actually removed by Su Weifeng. "Do you still need to search them now?" Su Weifeng smiled faintly, turned around and pushed open the door of the presidential suite. The two big men followed with their arms hugged. Even if they were injured, they had to do their duty. But at this time, they looked a little embarrassed. "Young man, you are very courageous." A man in his 50s was sitting on the sofa, crossing his legs and holding a cigar. He glanced at Su Weifeng and said, "Sit down." Su Weifeng sat directly on the sofa on the side and said, "It's okay." The man's name is Song Chengfang. He is also a powerful person among the second generation of the Song family. At this time, he chuckled and said, "You had a conflict with Song Qijiang today. Do you know what the consequences are?" Su Weifeng leaned back, found the most comfortable position, and said, "The consequences? You can tell me." Song Chengfang narrowed his eyes and said, "Song Qijiang is the most powerful one among the 3 generations of our Song family. If you provoke him and no one protects you, then you will only have a dead end." "Oh." Su Weifeng narrowed his eyes and said, "Are you trying to protect me?" Song Chengfang laughed and said, "You are indeed a smart man. I, Song Chengfang, cherish talents the most. As long as a talented person can be favored by me, I will definitely use him. No matter who he has offended before, as long as I come forward, I will protect you." Su Weifeng found it really interesting and said, "Aren't you a family? Why do you have 2 attitudes?" "Ha, a child like Song Qijiang does things just on impulse. How can he be a man who can do great things?" The families that Su Weifeng met in Yangcheng and the provincial capital were either enemies or friends. Even if there were some neutral families, there was basically no contact. He really had not come into contact with 2 factions in one family. This does not mean that the families in Yangcheng and the provincial capital are very united, but Su Weifeng just did not encounter them. Even the Shu family used to have internal struggles, and it was only after Shu Lingling's sudden rise that the entire power center of the Shu family was centralized. But in another province and city, he actually encountered this kind of family and fighting directly, which inevitably made Su Weifeng feel quite interesting. Chapter 667 Keking's Request. "What benefits can you give me?" "Just looking for something to do," Su Weifeng asked with narrowed eyes. Song Chengfang laughed, then puffed out his chest and said, "If you follow me, there will be many benefits. At that time, you will be considered a member of the Song family, and you can use our Song family's resources. Whether you are doing business or encountering other things, the Song family will give you great convenience." Su Weifeng shrugged his shoulders and said, these are more abstract, and the effect cannot be seen for a while. Can you say something practical? Practical? Song Chengfang narrowed his eyes and said, I know you are running a short video company now. I happen to have a film and television company. I can cooperate with you and invest in you. I can quickly list your company. Listing. Su Weifeng narrowed his eyes, showing a look of great interest. Song Chengfang took a puff of cigar and said no more, waiting for Su Weifeng to consider. After a moment, Su Weifeng said, this is a great temptation, but what I want to know more is, what do I need to do? The greater the benefits, the greater the risks I will have to take. Song Chengfang nodded in appreciation and said, young man, this is also why I admire you. You are not blinded by benefits. I will be frank with you. What I want you to do is easy and not easy. Please give me your instructions, Mr. Song. Su Weifeng also showed a humble attitude. Song Chengfang said, I need you to stay by my side as my personal bodyguard. Su Weifeng frowned and said, Second Master Song, I don't think a bodyguard is worth such a high price, right? Song Chengfang shook his head and said, bodyguards are also very different. Ordinary bodyguards can only play a basic protective role, but when you really encounter something, they cannot protect your safety. And I can judge that your strength is definitely beyond the strength of all the masters of our Song family. I can feel at ease with your protection. Su Weifeng narrowed his eyes and said, that also means that I may encounter various crises. I won't lie to you about this. I'm willing to spend such a high price to invite you, so naturally I will encounter crises. Although this sounds like a pie in the sky, with you to protect my safety, I can let go of my hands and feet to carry out my plan, and my chances of taking power in the Song family in the future will increase greatly. When that time comes, I will become the head of the Song family, and that will bring you benefits that you can never imagine. Of course, the premise of all this is that you can protect my safety, block any conspiracy against me, and even eliminate my opponents. At this point, Song Chengfang's eyes flashed with a sharp look. Su Weifeng frowned and said, this is not just a bodyguard, but also a killer. Song Chengfang laughed and said, those who achieve great things can't be concerned about small details, but you think too much. In a society ruled by law, how could I ask you to kill people? But your method makes the opponent's protector lose their combat effectiveness, which should not be a big problem, right? Su Weifeng nodded silently, took a deep breath, and said, there are too many things involved in this matter. I really need to think about it carefully. Song Chengfang nodded and said, okay, go back and think about it carefully. Call me anytime you think it through. Su Weifeng stood up, passed by the two bodyguards, grabbed their arms casually, and shook them gently. The two men screamed immediately, but they both clasped their fists to Su Weifeng, because Su Weifeng had directly connected their arms. After Su Weifeng walked out, Song Chengfang looked at the two bodyguards and said, what do you think of this kid? Second Master, we have no idea how strong this kid is. No one in our Song family is his match. Yes, if he can really be used by Second Master, he will definitely be a great help to Second Master. Song Chengfang nodded and said, I think so too. But, a big man hesitated and said, but this guy is so strong, and he is also very smart. He also has industries in his hands. I'm afraid it won't be so easy to subdue him. Song Chengfang nodded and said, yes, so in addition to giving him benefits, I also have to let him know that only by following me can he have a better chance. Then what Second Master means is, Song Chengfang narrowed his eyes and said, no hurry, we just need to wait for the opportunity. We don't have to take the initiative to do anything. With the help of Song Hejiang, that idiot, haha, many things will be much easier. Su Weifeng returned to the room. Lin Zhuangxuan and the others had not come back yet, so he simply went to the buffet restaurant downstairs, and soon found Lin Zhuangxuan and the others. Lin Zhuangxuan casually asked, what's the matter? Su Weifeng casually briefly talked about what happened just now, and said with a smile, I didn't expect that I would encounter an internal fight between them. This is a very interesting thing, but I don't have time to play games with them. Let's go home tomorrow. Just after Su Weifeng finished speaking, his mobile phone received a message from Tao Tao. Hey, I'm in Bincheng. I want to play with you. Su Weifeng immediately said, what are you playing for? I'll go home tomorrow. You can't go back. Sister Keking said that the Song family's affairs need to be intervened. This will be of great help to the future layout of the Meng family. Is that so? Su Weifeng frowned slightly and then replied, okay, then I'll stay and deal with it. Then you arrange all the girls at home and I'll come to you. This side immediately received another message from Meng Keking. Meng Keking told Su Weifeng with a very clear purpose. Although the Song family is a very large family in Bincheng and is quite powerful, it is still a small matter compared to the Meng family, and the Meng family does not care too much about the Song family. However, the Song family has a particularly important resource that the Meng family values very much. That is trade with Russia, an important country in the north. It is quite difficult for the Meng family in the capital to develop trade here, and it is obviously much more convenient to directly make a family their vassal. The most important thing is that they can use the resources they have obtained before. Using these resources, the Meng family can buy some special things from Russia, which is very helpful for Meng Keking's research. The multifaceted development of the world has made many countries have their own specialties and advanced things. It is generally difficult for the official to get them, so this kind of unconventional means in private has to be used. The Meng family is too conspicuous in the capital. If they intervene directly, it will easily attract the attention of all parties, and it will be difficult to perform. Let Su Weifeng take the opportunity to control the Song family here. Of course, it is best to control the Song family secretly, so that in the future, what to do is definitely what Meng Keking hopes for the most. After Su Weifeng knew the whole story, he naturally agreed more readily. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 668, Drinking Party? Su Weifeng had just finished talking with Meng Keking. Soon he received another encrypted order. In Bincheng, you can do whatever you want, and you can mobilize the National Security Department when necessary. Su Weifeng narrowed his eyes. He really didn't expect that this accidental conflict with the Song family would escalate to this point. Not to mention the friendship. Even if it was an order from above, Su Weifeng must definitely complete it. This is the duty of a soldier. Su Weifeng didn't tell Lin Zhuangxuan and the others about these things. He just told them that he would have to stay here for a while, and he still had to deal with the Song family's affairs for some special reasons. Lin Zhuangxuan and the others didn't ask any more questions. Although women are very curious, they all know that Su Weifeng can't ask too much about some of the things he has to do. Su Weifeng's phone seems to be particularly busy today. Just after contacting a few important people, another message came. Boss Su, I have a project. Are you interested in doing it? This is a vice president of Huahei Film and Television Company named Liu Bin. Su Weifeng was introduced by someone else before. They had dinner together once, and then added each other on WeChat, and then there was no contact. Boss Liu, thank you so much for thinking of me when you have a project. As long as it is a project that can make money, I'm interested. Okay, then wait for me. I'm in Bincheng now. I'll come to see you in 2 days when I finish here. Su Weifeng narrowed his eyes. This is really a coincidence. This Liu Bin appeared at the right time. Mr. Liu, what a coincidence. I just happened to shoot a small film here and am in Bincheng now. You're in Bincheng. That's great. I have a dinner party tonight. Why don't you come along? We are going to talk about this project. Su Weifeng hesitated for a moment and said, I'm afraid it won't be possible tonight. I still have some things to deal with here. How about this? My company's people will go back tomorrow, and I'll stay here for 2 more days, and have a good talk with Mr. Liu. No, today's dinner party is very important. There are several big investors. Whether the deal can be made depends on their attitude. If you don't come, you'll have to do it again later, and it will seem like you don't take it seriously. This is a rare opportunity, a large project with an investment of hundreds of millions. Su Weifeng still hesitated for a moment before saying, Mr. Liu thinks so highly of me. If I don't agree, wouldn't I be ungrateful? Okay, then I'll send you an address and you can come right away. you'll be in time. After talking to Liu Bin, Su Weifeng said to Lin Zhuangsun, I have to go out for social events tonight. Will you come back tonight? Lin Zhuangsun asked. It's hard to say. I feel that they are definitely going to set a trap for me tonight. I have to pretend to be good and fall into their trap, so I may not come back tonight. Okay, then we will take a car and go back directly tomorrow morning. Well, don't walk around tonight, so as to avoid any accidents. Su Weifeng gave a few more instructions before setting off. The address Liu Bin sent was very close to the hotel. It only took 10 minutes to get there by taxi. This is a hotel that integrates catering and entertainment, and it is quite luxurious. When Su Weifeng arrived, Liu Bin was like a good friend who had known Su Weifeng for many years and enthusiastically pulled Su Weifeng in. Everyone, this is Mr. Su Weifeng from Dream Film and Television. He is a talented person. The company has only been opened for a few months, but it has already produced many popular videos. In addition, the online movie he shot was also quite successful. It also received investment from Mingyang Film and Television. Basically, as long as he is involved in a project, it will make money. Su Weifeng immediately said with a smile, Mr. Liu, you say that as if I'm a mascot. There are 3 other people here, 2 men and 1 woman. The 2 men are in their 30s, and the woman is only 23 or 24 years old. She is surprisingly very beautiful and sits in the main seat. Liu Bin pointed at the beauty and said, Boss Su, this beauty is not simple. She is Boss Qiao Yushan of Fengming Investment Company. She has assets of billions. She is simply an invincible businesswoman. Su Weifeng immediately acted like a film and television person trying to please an investor, stretched out his hands and said, Boss Qiao, it's a pleasure to meet you. Qiao Yushan stood up, stretched out her right hand, shook hands with Su Weifeng, and said with a smile, Boss Su, why do I feel that our cooperation will be very pleasant? Su Weifeng smiled and said, of course I hope our cooperation will be very pleasant. Qiao Yushan chuckled and said, I have always had good luck in business. Everyone says that I'm a mascot, and you are also a mascot. It is impossible for us 2 mascots to not make money together. Su Weifeng laughed and said, Boss Qiao, there is nothing wrong with what you said. I'm also looking forward to working with Boss Qiao. Liu Bin introduced the other 2 people to Su Weifeng. When Liu Bin introduced them, he just mentioned them casually. Su Weifeng didn't even remember their names. Obviously, these 2 people were just extras, just here to make up the scene, and the protagonist of this dinner was the beautiful female CEO Qiao Yushan. Qiao Yushan greeted Su Weifeng generously and said, come on, CEO Su, sit over here. Our 2 mascots must sit together, so it looks interesting. An extra next to her immediately stood up and made room for Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng looked flattered and said, Boss Qiao, you really think too highly of me. You are our financial sponsor. Qiao Yushan chuckled and said, I'm a woman. You call me dad. Isn't that too much? Su Weifeng laughed and said, it's a respectful title. I can't call you financial sponsor mom, just because you are a woman. It sounds awkward. Qiao Yushan spat at Su Weifeng and said angrily, that's true. We haven't gotten married yet, so we really can't call you that. Besides, if I really call you that, I would seem to be taking advantage of her. Su Weifeng laughed and said, even if we take advantage of a beauty like Boss Qiao, it's an honor for us men. Haha, I love to hear you say that. After a few jokes, one of the extras raised his glass and said, Boss Su, you're late. I'll toast you first. You can do whatever you want. After saying that, the guy tilted his head back and drank the beer in the cup. Su Weifeng knew that this was the beginning of the show and immediately cooperated and said, I'm late. I have to drink a penalty drink. You drink 1 cup. I have to drink 3 cups. After saying that, he drank 3 cups of beer in a row. Good. So generous. Qiao Yushan clapped his hands twice, his eyes full of appreciation. Chapter 669 Talking about life. As soon as he finished drinking, without waiting for the other extra to speak, Su Weifeng directly picked up the glass and said to Qiao Yushan, Boss Qiao, I'll toast to you first. I'll drink 3 cups and you can drink 1. Qiao Yushan chuckled and said, okay, who told you to be late? This is your punishment. After Su Weifeng and Qiao Yushan drank 3 cups, he drank 3 cups with another extra. Finally, Yubin also laughed and said, "You didn't miss one cup, did you? How could that be? Then you must apologize. The beer cups here are not small. A bottle of beer can basically pour 4 cups." Su Weifeng drank 12 cups in a row, which is almost 3 bottles of beer. For some people who can drink, drinking 3 bottles of wine seems to be nothing, but drinking 3 bottles so quickly is not something that ordinary people can bear. But for Su Weifeng, these 3 bottles of beer are really nothing. But in this situation, if he didn't get drunk, wouldn't it be a shame for the game they set up? He also wanted to see what they were going to do. If he didn't cooperate, the next scene wouldn't be able to continue. But of course, he couldn't get drunk so easily, that would be too fake. So Su Weifeng's face was red at this time, and he was a little drunk, which made people feel that he could still drink. At this time, Yubin didn't immediately persuade Su Weifeng to drink, but talked about the project in a very formal way. He said this, and the 2 extras were beating the drums, and Chu Yuxi nodded occasionally. It must be said that the project they were talking about must exist, and it should have been prepared for a long time, so there was almost no problem, and people could feel that this project was definitely a good project, and it was also a profitable project. Su Weifeng listened and nodded again and again, and asked very professional questions from time to time. It can be said that everyone is now seriously discussing the feasibility of a cooperative project. When they were almost done talking, Yubin said with a smile, "Boss Su, how about this project?" Su Weifeng said seriously, "This project is really good. I feel it will definitely make money, but I just feel a little puzzled as to why Boss Liu wanted me to participate." Yubin was well prepared. He laughed and said, "Can you believe me if I say it's fate?" Su Weifeng smiled bitterly and said, "Isn't that a bit far-fetched?" "Ha, just kidding. But the main reason for this matter is that Boss Su left a very deep impression on me during the last meal, so I learned about your company and was very optimistic about it. This time Boss Chu asked me for a project, and I immediately thought of you. I felt that you were just right, so I contacted you. It's not that there is no fate. Think about it. Boss Chu and I were discussing a project in Bincheng, and when I looked for you, you were also in Bincheng. Don't you think this is fate?" Su Weifeng nodded in agreement and said, "Now that you mention it, it really is fate, Boss Chu. For the sake of our fate, let's do one." Chu Yuxi chuckled, raised her glass and said, "Cheers to our fate." After eating and drinking for a while, Yubin said, "It's less fun just drinking here. Let's go somewhere else and have some fun." Chu Yuxi chuckled and said, "You bunch of men. Okay, I'm happy today. I'll go out and have some fun with you." They changed to another room and sat down for a while before a few beautiful young girls with fair skin came. Chu Yuxi smiled and said, "Boss Su, these are a group of new young actors in my company. They have just entered the industry and are quite pure. Pick one." Su Weifeng immediately said, "Forget it. I'm not too interested in this. My company has also hired a lot of them. After seeing so many, I'm a little numb." Chu Yuxi chuckled and said, "Boss Su, we don't have to be so formal. Look at these 3 guys. They are never polite. Although I'm a woman, I can understand this kind of thing." Su Weifeng said, "Really, there is no need. I think it is most important for us to chat together and think about how to make money." Yubin blinked and said, "Boss Su, you are not interested in our Boss Chu, are you? You don't like these little girls?" Su Weifeng hurriedly said, "I admire Boss Chu." Yubin, "What you said, Boss Chu can be on guard against me." Chu Yuxi chuckled and said, "It's okay. I think Boss Su is also a wonderful person. Maybe the 2 of us can give it a try." Yubin smiled and said, "Okay, since Boss Su doesn't like this, then we won't be polite." Yubin and 2 extras immediately asked the girls to sit next to them. The 3 guys were having a lot of fun with the girls. Su Weifeng and Chu Yuxi looked at each other and then burst out laughing. Chu Yuxi picked up a bottle of wine and said, "Come on, let's drink." Su Weifeng clinked the bottles with Chu Yuxi, then smiled and said, "Yeah, they play their games, and we drink ours." Su Weifeng and Chu Yuxi drank and chatted, and it seemed that they could talk about the same topic. "Boss Chu, you are so young, but you have built such a big industry. I really admire you." Chu Yuxi had drunk a lot of wine at this time, and she was obviously drunk. She shook her head, smiled bitterly and said, a woman, especially a young and beautiful woman, who wants to achieve this, must pay much more than ordinary people. Su Weifeng also showed his drunkenness and said, anyway, you are successful now, and what you paid before is worth it. You can choose the life you want in the future. Is it okay? Chu Yuxi's eyes were a little blurred, and then he shook his head gently, looking at Liu Bin and the others over there, and laughed and scolded. Look at this group of men. They are so ugly in front of women, and women can only cater to such stinky men for money and career. Su Weifeng sighed and said, yes, how many people in this world can really do what they like according to their hearts? Chu Yuxi took another big sip of wine, then raised her hand to wipe the wine drops from the corner of her mouth, and said, I'm a woman, and I'm always forced to do things against my will. You're a grown man, so is it really the case? Su Weifeng shrugged his shoulders and said, it's too difficult to be unconstrained in life. Women feel it's difficult to do business, but that's because there are not many women doing business. Most men are doing business, and when it's difficult, they just resist it in their hearts. Few men want to say how difficult it is for them, especially in front of women. Every man doesn't want to show his weak side. Chu Yuxi squinted her eyes and stared at Su Weifeng. Her eyes became more and more blurred, and she said softly, it turns out that everyone is pretending. Su Weifeng also looked like he was sighing about life. He shook his head gently and said, life is like a play. Some people live more realistically, and some people live more falsely, but there is only one purpose, which is to make themselves live better. Chapter 670, Drunken Beauty. Chu Yuxi raised the bottle and drank half of the beer in the bottle in one gulp. Su Weifeng immediately handed over a tissue. Chu Yuxi took it and wiped her mouth, looking at Su Weifeng with burning eyes, and said, but what is really good? Su Weifeng also took the bottle and took a big sip and said drunkenly, it's really good. Some people think that having money is good, and some people think that having a successful career is good, but in fact, this good is just defined according to the different goals you pursue at a certain time. After a pause, Su Weifeng said, when you have no money, you will definitely think that making a lot of money is the best. When your relationship fails, you will definitely think that finding someone you can truly love is the best. When you are sick, you will definitely think that, as long as you are healthy, everything else is not important. This life, there is nothing really good, it's just that people's desires are different. Chu Yuxi suddenly laughed and said, I really didn't expect that President Su could say such philosophical words. I thought that those of us who do business are all thinking about how to make money. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, Boss Chu, you are praising me. I was just expressing my feelings casually. At least now I think that it is best to make a bigger career and earn more money. Haha. You are very honest. Cheers for your honesty. Cheers. Chu Yuxi rubbed his forehead and said, I drank a little too much and feel a little dizzy. Su Weifeng immediately asked, do you want to go back and rest first? No, everyone is in such a good mood. If I leave now, it will be a spoiler. Do you mind if I lean on your shoulder? I will take a rest. Su Weifeng felt that this might be the real show. At this time, he smiled slightly and said, it is my honor. Chu Yuxi showed a charming smile, then sat down next to Su Weifeng and leaned her head on Su Weifeng's shoulder. Su Weifeng glanced to the side from the corner of his eye. Liu Bin and the others all looked over here, then turned their heads away and continued to play with the girls, as if they didn't see the two people here. The two of them just leaned against each other. No one spoke, and the atmosphere suddenly became somewhat ambiguous. Chu Yuxi's body tilted, and she fell directly on Su Weifeng's legs. But she immediately supported herself with both hands, sat up in a panic, and said, sorry, I lost my composure. Su Weifeng said with concern, let's not drink anymore. I feel very uncomfortable and want to sleep. We will have many opportunities to drink in the future. It is not necessary to drink until we fall down this time. Chu Yuxi hesitated for a moment and said, okay, let's tell them. Hearing that the two were leaving, Liu Bin said, in this case, let's drink another bottle together and drink to our heart's content next time. This was also considered as the last glass of wine, and Su Weifeng and Chu Yuxi both agreed happily. After finishing a bottle of wine, Liu Bin said with a smile, Boss Su, you have to send Boss Chu back to the room safely. If anything goes wrong, we will only ask you. Su Weifeng said immediately, no problem, I will take care of it. The two staggered out. After Chu Yuxi took a few steps, she grabbed Su Weifeng's arm, closed her eyes, and said, my room is upstairs. I can't hold on any longer. You take me upstairs. Su Weifeng said with a big tongue, Boss Chu, I'm sorry. As he said that, he hugged Chu Yuxi's waist. But his steps were also unstable, and the two stumbled to the elevator. After entering the elevator, Chu Yuxi had already fallen directly into Su Weifeng's arms. Su Weifeng could feel her heart beating, and this beating, although due to drunkenness, was obviously more nervous. This made Su Weifeng even more curious. What exactly was this woman going to do? Beauty trap? It seems that Song Hejiang wants to deal with him, but using such means is not a smart method. However, no matter what the opponent's means are, Su Weifeng's most important principle now is to fall into the trap designed by others. Otherwise he can't really enter the fight of the Song family. After getting out of the elevator, Su Weifeng half dragged and half hugged Chu Yuxi to the door of her room. At this time, Chu Yuxi was almost half lying on him, with her eyes closed, as if she had lost consciousness. But Su Weifeng knew very well that Chu Yuxi was drunk at this time. She must be drunk, but she was definitely not drunk to this extent. Boss Chu, you, open the door. Su Weifeng was also acting at this time, and he also looked drunk and confused. Chu Yuxi didn't respond at all. Then I found it myself. Don't blame me for touching you. Su Weifeng said, and his hand touched Chu Yuxi's clothes pocket, and finally found the room card in the pocket of his pants. While looking for the room card, Su Weifeng could feel Chu Yuxi's body trembling, which was a reaction of nervousness and embarrassment. Even though she was trying her best to control it, Su Weifeng could still feel it clearly with his ability. This made Su Weifeng somewhat suspicious of Chu Yuxi. He felt that she might not be willing to do this, and might be coerced. After opening the door, Su Weifeng dragged Chu Yuxi to the bed again. As if he had exhausted his last strength, after Su Wei carried Chu Yuxi to the bed, he also fell on the bed, panting heavily. Both of them were lying on the bed. Su Weifeng could roughly feel her reaction without looking at Chu Yuxi. After lying on the bed, Chu Yuxi's heart was beating wildly, and her breathing seemed to stop. She was clearly very scared. Then Su Weifeng did not move. Although her nervousness and fear were slowly subsiding, she seemed to be a little anxious. This made Su Weifeng feel interesting. He simply closed his eyes and lay there motionless, pretending to be asleep. After a long while, Chu Yuxi slowly turned over and lay flat, and quietly opened her eyes to peek at Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng was lying flat on the bed at this time, and seemed to be sleeping soundly there. Chu Yuxi's mouth twitched, and she turned her head, eyes open, just looking at Su Weifeng, but the expression on her face seemed a little uncertain. The notification sound of the mobile phone rang, and Chu Yuxi was like being stung by a scorpion. She quickly took out her mobile phone and took a look, and then quickly deleted the message. After putting down the phone, she looked at Su Weifeng again, and the hesitant look in her eyes suddenly became resolute. She took a deep breath, threw herself on Su Weifeng, and began to take off Su Weifeng's clothes with both hands. Chapter 671, Caught. Boss Chu, what are you doing? Su Weifeng couldn't pretend to sleep anymore, and opened his eyes quickly, looking completely confused. Don't talk, I want you. Chu Yuxi's eyes flashed with a trace of panic, but she immediately threw herself on Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng was a little entangled at this time. It was obviously the most important part of his plan, to let Chu Yuxi have something with him. Chu Yuxi must have a beautiful face and a good figure. She is definitely a great beauty, and her status is also quite high. For men, such a woman is definitely a rare and excellent product. I'm afraid that more than 99% of the men here will not refuse Chu Yuxi's request. But for Su Weifeng, this is exactly what he cares about the most. For a woman who has no feelings, he can't do it at all. But if he refuses directly at this time, I'm afraid there will be no play to play. Su Weifeng suddenly turned over and pressed Chu Yuxi under him, then raised his arm and threw his coat to the head of the bed. In another room of the hotel, Song Hejiang and several people were watching a monitor. On the monitor screen, there was a bed, and on the bed were Su Weifeng and Chu Yuxi. At this time, Chu Yuxi was beginning to take off Su Weifeng's clothes. Song Qijiang said angrily, "Damn, this Chu Yuxi, I haven't had a chance to get her, and she's so cheap to such a boy." A sharp-nosed and monkey-faced man next to him chuckled and said, "Master, she's just a woman, don't worry too much. Such women should be used well instead of being controlled by them. Besides, it's not bad to watch a show." Song Qijiang snorted, but there was clearly a kind of excitement in his eyes. Just as Su Weifeng pressed Chu Yuxi under him, the screen of the monitor suddenly went black. "Fuck. What's going on?" Song Qijiang frowned and shouted. This was a tense moment. How could an accident happen? It seems that the guy just took off his clothes and covered the camera with his clothes. Stupid, this camera is so easy to be blocked. How did you install it? Master, who knew he would throw clothes around like that? But it doesn't matter whether you see it or not. Chu Yuxi has already succeeded, so let's go to the scene to watch the show. While speaking, the guy with a pointed face and monkey cheeks took out his phone. "Police, someone is raping here. Please come quickly, otherwise the woman will be bullied." After reporting the hotel and room number, the guy hung up the phone. In less than 10 minutes, several policemen had already rushed to the door of Chu Yuxi's room. The waiter opened the door directly, and the police rushed in and saw Su Weifeng and Chu Yuxi on the bed. When Chu Yuxi saw the police, she pushed Su Weifeng away, hugged the quilt tightly and sat up, her eyes red, crying and shouting, "Police, help. He raped me." Su Weifeng was shirtless at this time, looking at Chu Yuxi in disbelief, and said, "You said I raped?" "Yes." Chu Yuxi gritted her teeth and said, "I thought of you as a friend, but I didn't expect you to do such a thing. You are simply worse than a beast." Su Weifeng said angrily, "Chu Yuxi, it was obviously you who took the initiative, and you actually said I raped you. You are simply..." A policeman shouted angrily, "Shut up. If you have anything to say, go to the team and say it." 2 policemen came over and handcuffed Su Weifeng directly. "Comrade police, I'm innocent. I really didn't rape." Su Weifeng defended anxiously, but the 2 policemen didn't listen to him at all and pushed him out directly. "Boss Chu, we have no grudges in the past or in the present. You can't do this to me." Su Weifeng was immediately taken to the criminal police team and interrogated. When he got here, Su Weifeng still suspected whether the police here were also colluding with Song Qijiang and others, but during the interrogation, he dispelled this speculation. The police were completely impartial, and except for their bad attitude towards him as a rapist, they did not do anything out of line. Su Weifeng could understand this. Whether it was the police station or the army, rapists were hated. Even in prison, such people were considered the lowest level criminals. A policeman came in from outside and said with a gloomy face, "You still dare to deny it? She has clearly said that you forced her to have sex with you when she clearly expressed her disagreement. Even if you haven't had a substantial relationship yet, it is enough to be classified as attempted rape. You can't escape this charge. If you tell the truth, we can still give you a corresponding reduction in sentence based on your attitude of confession. If you are stubborn, we can only deal with you civilly." Su Weifeng immediately said, "Comrade police, I want to confront her. It was really her initiative, otherwise I wouldn't dare to do it." "You don't admit it? Then think about it carefully, and we will re-examine you tomorrow." Now Su Weifeng understood what the other party meant. Song Qijiang wanted Chu Yuxi to set up such a trap, and then sue Su Weifeng for rape. In this kind of thing, as long as a woman comes to sue, the man will not be able to explain it unless he records the whole process from beginning to end. There is another way, which is to prove that the woman was on top, so that it can be proved that the woman was willing. But how to prove this? There is no other way, except to record it. But if a woman lets you record it, will she sue you? This seems to be a dead end. If they want to get you, you can't run away. This is Song Qijiang's game, or rather, Song Qijiang's game has not been completed yet, but Song Chengfang should almost make a move. At this time, if he doesn't bail him out, he will have no capital to recruit him. Moreover, Su Weifeng is sure that Song Chengfang will definitely guarantee the safety of Lin Zuangsun and others at this time, which is also a manifestation of strength. Song Chengfang must show strong enough strength to make Su Weifeng work for him. This is obviously also an excellent opportunity. So even if Su Weifeng is locked up, he is not worried about the safety of Lin Zhuangxuan and others. Soon, Su Weifeng was sent directly to the detention center. This is a room for 6 people, and there is no one else in it now. But after a while, several people were sent in. These people were cursing, as if they were sent here, because of a fight just now. None of these people paid any attention to Su Weifeng. They were obviously regulars here. After they quarreled for a while, they all fell on the bed and went to sleep. It was a little after 1 in the middle of the night, and the room seemed particularly quiet. A man tiptoed down from the bed slowly. His movements were very light, almost without any sound, and he actually had a toothbrush in his hand. Although it was just a plastic toothbrush, he didn't know when he had made the handle of the toothbrush into a sharp point, which was already a murder weapon. Chapter 672 Assassination. The man slowly came to Su Weifeng's bed. With the moonlight, he could see that Su Weifeng was sleeping very deeply. A grim smile appeared on his face, and then the toothbrush in his hand suddenly stabbed towards Su Weifeng's throat. This was no longer an attempt to hurt someone, it was simply an attempt to kill someone. At such a distance, the other party was still unprepared, and he was too confident in himself. This was enough to pierce the neck of the man on the bed and puncture his aorta. But his smile suddenly froze on his face, just like the toothbrush in his hand, which was also frozen a few centimeters in front of Su Weifeng's throat. And on his wrist, there was an extra hand at this time, and no matter how hard he tried, the toothbrush in his hand could not stab any further. A trace of horror flashed in the guy's eyes, but he did not stop at all, and his other hand suddenly hit Su Weifeng's chest. His reaction was fast, but still not as fast as Su Weifeng, and the fist fell directly into Su Weifeng's hand. Didn't you fall asleep? The guy lowered his voice and roared in annoyance. Su Weifeng said disdainfully, this can only be said, that your disguise skills are too poor. You are a master, mixed in a group of gangsters, but you are not as ostentatious as gangsters. You look at me more and more, and your eyes are more vigilant. If you are going to carry out any important tasks, I'm afraid you can't even survive for an hour. The guy felt a blockage in his chest. After all, he was a master, and he was also good at hiding and sneaking, but in Su Weifeng's eyes, he was so unbearable. But what Su Weifeng said made him unable to refute. Tell me, who sent you? Su Weifeng directly let go of the guy's hands and sat up slowly, not taking him seriously at all. The guy's eyes flickered, hesitating whether to attack again, but soon gave up the idea. The man in front of him was obviously much stronger than him, especially the self-confidence on his body, which caused him great psychological pressure. Taking a deep breath, he shook his head gently and said, I always do things for money. Someone gave me money to sneak in and kill you, so I came. Su Weifeng narrowed his eyes and said, even if you can succeed here, how can you get away with it? If something happens here, the people in charge here are all responsible. They must find a way to pass the blame. Besides, if I'm strong, I will fake the scene of your suicide when I kill you, and others will not know that it was me. Su Weifeng laughed and said, you do have some tricks, but it's a pity that you have fallen into my hands now. The guy suddenly felt that Su Weifeng's smile was a bit scary, and subconsciously took a step back. But Su Weifeng did nothing, but said lightly, I'll give you a chance, and work for me from now on. The corners of the guy's mouth twitched violently for a few times, and his eyes stared at Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng's expression was very calm, and his eyes were not sharp, but he felt an indescribable danger, as if he would be killed the next moment, and then disguised as a suicide scene if he refused. Okay, I promise you. After the guy said this, he felt that the pressure was relieved a lot. He grinned and said, my name is Zheng Ren. Su Weifeng nodded and said, come here. Zheng Ren came to Su Weifeng without hesitation. As soon as he stood still, Su Weifeng's fingers suddenly stretched out and tapped his ribs several times like lightning. Zheng Ren's ribs first hurt, then numb, and it felt like something entered his ribs and hid there motionless. Su Weifeng said lightly, I won't trust you that much. This is just a little trick. After 7 days, if I'm satisfied, I can help you solve it. If I'm not satisfied, then you. How? What? Zheng Ren's words suddenly stuttered. It's nothing. It's just itchy under my ribs, and then all over my body. It won't stop for a moment. Su Weifeng said lightly, but Zheng Ren's face turned green in an instant. Itching all over my body, and it won't stop for a moment. That kind of feeling is probably more uncomfortable than being killed. It's unbearable to think about it. Su Weifeng said again, I remind you, if you don't believe it, there's nothing you can do. Zheng Ren said without hesitation, believe it, I believe it. Su Weifeng laughed and said, that's the best, I'll go to bed first. Zheng Ren watched Su Weifeng really lie down, and he was facing away from him, completely defenseless. But Zheng Ren didn't even have the idea of attacking Su Weifeng at this time. The man in front of him gave him a feeling of being completely invincible. As long as he dared to attack, he would definitely be greeted with death, and he didn't doubt the man's words at all. Carefully returning to his bedside, Zheng Ren fell down, thinking of the few fingers Su Weifeng tapped his ribs. He touched his ribs, but couldn't feel anything, but he could feel something there. What kind of trick is this? Poisoning? Or something else? Zheng Ren's scalp tingled at the thought of poisoning. If there was a disgusting poisonous insect in there, it would be really uncomfortable to think about it. The next morning, Su Weifeng was brought to trial again. This time, after a while of trial, a policeman came in and whispered to the two policemen who were interrogating him. Although their voices were low, Su Weifeng still heard them. The woman who was victimized just now changed her confession, saying that she drank too much last night, so what she said was drunken talk, and she no longer accused him of rape. The interrogating policeman immediately said angrily, is this a benefit? It shouldn't be, that's Qiao Yushan. Her status is there. Maybe she doesn't want to make a big deal about this matter. After all, it will affect her reputation. Humph, that's really a bargain for this guy. Qiao Yushan didn't pursue it anymore, and Su Weifeng didn't admit it, so the case naturally had to end. When Su Weifeng walked out of the criminal police team, the car window at the gate rolled down, and inside was Song Chengfang, who had a gentle smile on his face. Su Weifeng went straight over and got in the car, smiled bitterly, and said, thank you, Mr. Song. You're welcome, it's just a small matter. Song Chengfang smiled and waved his hand. Su Weifeng said, then please take me back to the hotel, I'm worried about my colleagues. Song Chengfang laughed and said, don't worry, although Song Hejiang wanted to mess around, I stopped him. None of your employees were hurt. This morning, I sent people to send them all to the high-speed rail station. Chapter 673 Confrontation with Qiao Yushan. Lin Zhuangxuan's phone rang quickly. How are you? Su Weifeng asked anxiously. We are fine. We are all on the high-speed rail. How are you? Someone said yesterday that you were arrested, and said that you, cough, how did it become like this? Su Weifeng looked very annoyed, and said, I was framed, but now I have been bailed out. Huh, that's good. I was thinking about going back and finding a lawyer for you. No need, you go back first. I'll be back later. After hanging up the phone, Song Chengfang said with a smile, Mr. Su, there is no need to go back in such a hurry, right? Su Weifeng said, Second Master Song, do you have any other instructions? Haha, you are pretending to be confused. Don't you consider what I told you? Su Weifeng hesitated for a moment and said, Second Master Song, you helped me a lot this time. I'm really grateful from the bottom of my heart. If Second Master Song asks me to do something, I will definitely be happy to do it. But if you ask me to follow Second Master Song directly, I'm afraid it won't work. After all, my home and my assets are all in Yangcheng. Su Weifeng was not worried that his identity in the Yangcheng family would be discovered by the Song family. First, the relationship between him and those big families is a private matter and no news will be spread. Second, none of his industries are registered under his name, so from the internet, his only identity is the vice president of Dream Film and Television Company. Third, even if some news appears on the internet, with Tao Tao's intervention, there will definitely be nothing left. If Meng Keqing wants to plot against the Song family, she will definitely do it in a watertight manner outside, and Su Weifeng doesn't have to worry at all. So now when he talks about the situation in Yangcheng, he has no burden at all. Song Chengfang laughed and said, I also understand your situation in Yangcheng. It's just a small company with 200 or 300 million yuan. You can transfer to Harbin for development. If you don't want to leave, I'll give you a company here. I think you can own a listed film and television company in less than a year. This. Mr. Song, please give me some time to think about it. I want to meet President Chu Yuxi now. Haha, I know you want to see her. Let her wait for you now. As for our business, you can think about it slowly. In a high-end suite, Su Weifeng and Chu Yuxi sat opposite each other. Su Weifeng had a gloomy face and stared at Chu Yuxi. Chu Yuxi elegantly made a cup of kung fu tea and then placed it in front of Su Weifeng. Mr. Su, please have some tea. There was still a sweet smile on her face. Su Weifeng took the teacup and said slowly, Boss Chu, don't you think you should give me an explanation for this matter? Chu Yuxi also poured himself a cup of tea, took a sip, and looked quite satisfied. Then he said slowly, you know this very well, so why should I do anything more? Su Weifeng frowned and said, but Boss Chu, you are also a person of status and position. If this matter is publicized, I will be sentenced to a few years at most, but your reputation will definitely be greatly damaged. For a small person like me, is it worth it for you to pay such a price? Chu Yuxi shrugged and said, whether it is worth it or not, the most important thing is not for me to decide. If someone thinks it is worth it, then it is worth it. Picking up the teapot, seeing that Su Weifeng did not drink it, Chu Yuxi gestured. Su Weifeng drank the tea in the cup in one gulp, and Chu Yuxi poured him another cup, then poured himself one, picked it up, and took another sip. This posture, coupled with the Qiangsam she was wearing, made her look like an authentic Jiangnan beauty, so charming that it is indescribable. Su Weifeng snorted and said, it seems that Song Jiang really thinks highly of me. In order to deal with me, he actually let a figure like Mr. Chu set me up. Even if I'm arrested, I feel lucky. Chu Yuxi's smile became even stronger, and he said, I was also puzzled at first, but now I know that it's not just Song Jiang, but also the second master of the Song family who has taken a fancy to you. In Bincheng, there are very few people who can make Song Jiang spend a lot of money to deal with, and can also be protected by the second master of the Song family. You are really not simple. Su Weifeng frowned and said, I don't want to get involved in these things. These family affairs are too complicated and too dangerous. Even a figure like Mr. Chu can't stay out of it. I'm in it, and it is easy for me to become someone else's cannon fodder. Chu Yuxi sighed and said, it would be great if I could withdraw like this, but since you have already entered the game, it will be difficult to withdraw. Su Weifeng said angrily, if I go back to Yangcheng directly, can they still go to Yangcheng to arrest me? Of course not. Although the Song family is strong, it can only be in Bincheng. They can't reach the power of other provinces. But don't you have any relatives or friends here? This. Su Weifeng was about to answer. Chu Yuxi had already handed her mobile phone to Su Weifeng and said, take a look. This is a draft opinion letter. It is aimed at Liu Ziyuan and wants to remove Liu Ziyuan from his position. Su Weifeng slapped the coffee table and said angrily, this is too much. Liu Ziyuan is just my comrade in arms, and I haven't seen him for many years. As for implicating him, because of my affairs, Chu Yuxi shrugged helplessly and said, so, unless you don't care about this Liu Ziyuan, you can leave directly. This. Su Weifeng's chest rose and fell sharply, and he seemed to be angry. Chu Yuxi sighed again and said, drink some tea and calm your anger. No matter how angry you are, it's useless. You've already entered the game, so you have to play it together. Su Weifeng suddenly stared at Chu Yuxi and said, then which group are you on? Which group? Chu Yuxi showed a sarcastic smile and said, whoever is useful to me, I belong to that group. Whoever group can give me better benefits, I belong to that group. Like this time, Song Jiang asked me to harm you, so I belong to Song Jiang's group. The second master asked me to withdraw the lawsuit, so I had to listen to him, and I was in his group. Su Weifeng frowned and said, you are able to play both sides. Aren't you afraid that they will vent their anger on you? Why do you want to vent your anger on me? Chu Yuxi said very aggrievedly, I'm just a weak woman. I can't afford to offend Song Jiang, and I can't afford to offend the second master even more. Since I can't afford to offend anyone, I have to do whatever they ask me to do. If they want to blame me, I can't do anything about it. Su Weifeng frowned and thought for a while, then said, I understand your approach. You don't take sides at all, so no one will treat you as their own. They just want to use you and have no expectations of you, so they won't blame you. Chu Yuxi chuckled and said, Boss Su, no wonder Mr. Song thinks so highly of you. You are really smart. Chapter 674, Forced. Su Weifeng smiled bitterly and said, smart. This is an open fact. Anyone can see it. President Chu is smart. He turned the conspiracy into an open one and was able to maneuver with ease and the power of such a big family. This is real smartness. Maneuver with ease. Chu Yuxi blinked and said, have you ever thought that if the police had come a few minutes later last night, I would have really let you do it? Su Weifeng coughed awkwardly and said, President Chu is joking. Chu Yuxi shrugged and said self-deprecatingly, I'm not joking. I'm just telling you that I'm not at ease at all. I can't even protect my own body, so how can I be at ease? Su Weifeng took a sip of tea and pretended to be confused. Chu Yuxi suddenly leaned forward and stopped when she was only a dozen centimeters away from Su Weifeng's face. She chuckled and said, you must be very good at having fun. Su Weifeng almost spit out a mouthful of tea, then laughed and said in an ambiguous tone, a beauty like President Chu. Su Weifeng also showed a normal reaction of man. He squinted at Chu Yuxi and said lustfully, I just tasted a little sweetness. There is still a long way to go. Chu Yuxi chuckled and said, do you still want to continue? Of course I do, but the premise is that you can't sue me again. Chu Yuxi chuckled and said, I had no choice, but now you really have a chance. The second master said that, as long as you agree to help him, I will be yours in the future. Su Weifeng was suddenly excited, but shook his head vigorously, took a deep breath, and showed a tangled look of struggling with a powerful temptation. Chu Yuxi's eyes narrowed into a slit, just like a little vixen using her charm. Her voice was soft and delicate, full of bewitching, then you can slowly taste it. Su Weifeng's eyes suddenly became extremely fiery, and he stretched out his arms and hugged Chu Yuxi's shoulders. Chu Yuxi's eyes were even more charming, and she said, what do you want to do? Do you want to eat me now? Aren't you afraid that I will scream, yo? Su Weifeng said viciously, even if you sue. Chu Yuxi's expression became more charming, and she said, then come on. Then she slowly closed her eyes, her eyelashes trembling slightly, and her shy and charming appearance could melt a man's heart. But Su Weifeng pushed Chu Yuxi away at this time, took the teapot directly, and drank the whole pot of water directly from the spout. You. Chu Yuxi looked at Su Weifeng in astonishment. Su Weifeng took a deep breath and said, I admit that you are very tempting to me, but I, Su Weifeng, will not sell my life for a woman. What's more, I have already suffered a loss once. If I suffer a second loss from the same woman, I would be too stupid. Chu Yuxi stared at Su Weifeng in a daze, and the look in her eyes suddenly became quite complicated, with surprise, confusion, and admiration. But all these looks disappeared in an instant, revealing only a resentful and annoyed look. Well said. The door opened. Song Chengfang walked in, laughing and clapping his hands. Chu Yuxi stood up and said respectfully, Second Master. Song Chengfang laughed and said, Yuxi, I thought that, as long as you took action, there would be no man that you couldn't take down. I really didn't expect that you couldn't do it this time. Chu Yuxi looked at Su Weifeng with resentment and said, yes, Mr. Su is really the best among men. Second Master has a good eye. Song Chengfang laughed again and sat down. Chu Yuxi immediately made tea and poured another cup for Song Chengfang. But Chu Yuxi didn't sit next to Song Chengfang, but sat next to him. Su Weifeng took a breath and said, Master Song, what happened to my comrade in arms? Was it you who did it? Song Chengfang shook his head and said, I wanted to recruit you, so how could I do something that would make you distrust me? This was done by Song Qijiang. But whether you are willing to help me or not determines whether I will take action or not. Smiling, Song Chengfang continued, don't think I'm unkind. Because I protected you yesterday, Song Qijiang and his son were already very dissatisfied with me. I have already taken a big blame for you, and this time they attacked your comrade in arms again, and because they didn't do anything to you last time, they have to vent their anger. Not only do they want to remove him from his public office, but they also have to use some means to send him to jail. They want you to know how serious the consequences are if you offend them. Su Weifeng's brows were immediately twisted into a knot. Chu Yuxi poured a cup of tea for Su Weifeng and said with a smile, "Don't worry, have a cup of tea to calm down." Song Chengfang said again, "I can handle this matter, but I must have a reason to do it. Otherwise I really don't want to be enemies with Kejiang." Su Weifeng frowned, his chest rose and fell sharply, and said, "Okay, I can agree to you, but I have conditions." "You said, we can negotiate the conditions." Song Chengfang's eyes lit up, waved his hand, and looked quite generous. Su Weifeng said, "First, I will help you, but I can't be by your side every day like a bodyguard. I need my freedom. I will only be by your side when you really have something to do." "Okay." Song Chengfang nodded. "Second, I will not commit murder and robbery, or anything that violates the law. No matter what time it is, I need to keep my family clean. I cannot leave any stains for my family and my future children." Song Chengfang narrowed his eyes, nodded slowly, and said, "I can promise you this." Su Weifeng took another breath and said, "I will help you for a year at most. After a year, no matter how your business develops, I will leave." Song Chengfang hesitated for a moment, then slowly said, "1 year is enough." After Su Weifeng finished speaking, his body suddenly seemed to be empty. Chu Yuxi chuckled at this time, raised his teacup, and said, "Congratulations, second master, you have got another great general." Song Chengfang laughed, raised his teacup, and said with a smile, "Yuxi, it's not a good idea for you to always be a fence sitter." Chapter 675. What do you think of this woman? Chu Yuxi pouted and said, "Second master, please don't force me. I'm just a little girl who earns some pocket money from the fingers of your Song family. No one dares to offend me. If I express my opinion, a bunch of people will tear me into pieces immediately. I don't have the strong self-protection strength like Mr. Su." Song Chengfang laughed and said, "You can refuse, but don't worry, I think it won't take a year for you to follow me wholeheartedly. At that time, you will have no choice at all." Chu Yuxi chuckled and said, "Then I also hope that day will come sooner." "Okay, I won't disturb you to talk about business. I have heard a lot, I know a lot, and I'm under great pressure. I don't want to die so early." Waving her hand, Chu Yuxi stood up, twisted her waist, and walked out of the door. Song Chengfang and Su Weifeng's eyes were involuntarily watching Chu Yuxi leave the room. "What a beauty." Song Chengfang shook his head, then looked at Su Weifeng and said, "Weifeng, what do you think of this woman Chu Yuxi?" Su Weifeng knew that Song Chengfang was testing him, so he considered his words and said, "This woman is very smart and very good at hiding herself. So far, I don't know which of her words are true and which are false." Song Chengfang chuckled and said, "Yes, this is a fox-like woman, but no matter how cunning she is, she has to rely on our Song family." Su Weifeng frowned and said, "Although this is the case, she can roam around the Song family and still protect herself until now. This is not something that ordinary people can do. I feel that this woman looks harmless, but she may have greater ambitions. Mr. Song should be careful." Song Chengfang nodded and said, "You are right. This woman really can't be underestimated, but I feel that her attitude towards you is quite subtle. If you can get her, then I will get another big help. Once you can get her, a woman like this, as long as she uses you, even if she goes to bed with you, you have to be on guard every night to prevent her from killing you in the middle of the night." Song Chengfang laughed and said, "But a woman like this will feel greater pleasure after being conquered. This may be the reason why everyone in our Song family tolerates her, because everyone wants to prove themselves through her." "I see." Su Weifeng suddenly realized and said, "Then it is unimaginable that this woman can be so at ease among these people." Song Chengfang was obviously quite satisfied with Su Weifeng's evaluation of Chu Yuxi. At this time, he asked again, "How do you evaluate your combat effectiveness?" Su Weifeng hesitated for a moment and said, "It's hard to say, but it seems that no opponent I have met in the past few years can beat me." Song Chengfang laughed and said, "That's because I rarely meet opponents. Good. I need a strong man like you. Let's go and meet my nephew Song Kejiang." Liu Ziyuan was in a very low mood. The leader had just talked to him and said that there might be some transfers in his position recently, and the transfer was not very good. The implication was to reveal a message to Liu Ziyuan and let him find someone to smooth things over. But Liu Ziyuan didn't have any connections at all. He could do this because he came back from the army with a position, and he was really brave and hardworking, and he had made many meritorious deeds. This could be seen from top to bottom. Liu Ziyuan could feel that the leader who gave him the information was also somewhat powerless and could not help him at all. But who did he offend, and why did someone want to do this to him? Walking to the street, Liu Ziyuan lit a cigarette, feeling extremely upset. A policeman like him, who always did things with a clear conscience, was treated so unfairly. It was simply too difficult to balance. A blue Lamborghini suddenly braked and stopped on the side of the road. A man got out of the car, then leaned against the door, and looked at Liu Ziyuan with a smile. It was Song Qijiang. Liu Ziyuan frowned and said, "You're looking for me?" Song Qijiang said with a smile, "Yes, Director Liu." No, you will not be the director soon, and it will be even worse. Liu Ziyuan's face sank and said, "Are you bullying me?" Song Qijiang nodded, and did not deny it at all, and said, "Yes, I'm bullying you." Liu Ziyuan looked at Song Qijiang carefully, but he couldn't remember where he had seen this young man. He said in a deep voice, "I don't know you either. How did I offend you?" Song Qijiang's face turned cold and said, "You really didn't offend me, but someone you know offended me, so I bullied you, and then let him know that he offended me. What will be the end of that?" Liu Ziyuan's face turned black and said, "How can you know who I'm taking such a big blame for?" Song Qijiang laughed sinisterly and said, "Su Weifeng, you should know him, right?" "Su Weifeng? Instructor?" Liu Ziyuan screamed. "Heh, it seems that you don't deserve to be blamed." Liu Ziyuan glared at Song Qijiang fiercely and said, "Boy, you dare to mess with our instructor. I think you think your life is too long." Song Qijiang sneered and said, "So what? I'm going to deal with him. Aren't you his comrade in arms? I want to see what he can do when I deal with you like this. Who are you?" Liu Ziyuan roared in a low voice. "Song Qijiang of the Song family." "Song family?" Liu Ziyuan's face changed immediately. The affairs of these big families have nothing to do with the director of a small police station in their place. He has not even come into contact with people from big families. But because of the special profession, he also has some understanding of these families. Especially the Song family, which is the largest family in Bincheng with huge strength, and this Song Qijiang is a very flamboyant one among the younger generation. When it comes to the Song family, there is no one who doesn't know Song Qijiang. In the entire system, many people know about Song Qijiang. Many people hate this guy, but they have never found any concrete evidence. In addition, with the background of the Song family, no one can touch this guy. Unexpectedly, Su Weifeng actually offended the Song family. This guy not only wants to deal with Su Weifeng, but also finds him. Song Qijiang laughed and said, "How is it? Do you regret meeting this guy Su Weifeng? Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. As long as you tell me that Su Weifeng is a bastard and then stop treating him as a comrade, I will not bully you anymore." Liu Ziyuan's face sank, and he shouted angrily, "Don't even think about it. Even if I can't be the director, don't even think about me scolding the instructor." Song Qijiang curled his lips in disdain and said, "Oh, please be loyal, but for this loyalty, you have to exchange your own future. Do you think it's worth it?" Liu Ziyuan's eyebrows stood up, his eyes were about to spit fire, and he said with gritted teeth, "It's worth it. Boy, the instructor is so powerful that you can't imagine. If you offend the instructor, you will be miserable in the end." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.